on an episode of GVN Talk. It's been months since we've done an episode of GVN Talk. Trayvon was starting to feel as though we would never get to this point again. I told him, we may. I don't know. I don't know. But we're here, and we have a full group today on this episode of GVN Talk. Starting off with AJ. What's going on, AJ?
What's up? Finally, I'm so happy to be back. It's been a minute. Like you said, it's been a minute. So it's really, really good to be back.
Yeah, AJ's just glad when we do this show because it forces the audience to listen to him.
Yes, I need people to listen to me talk. I need it.
Yeah, he's trapping you guys. He's trapping you. So if you guys ever need to fast forward, I'll put timestamps like when AJ starts talking. Timestamps. Next up is Trayvon. What's up, Trayvon?
I'm happy to be here too. I am glad we're finally back doing this. There's a lot to talk about, honestly, if you really think about it. So, especially this week alone. So yeah, let's get to it.
Absolutely. And the person I've been trying to, guys, trust me, trying to get on here to podcast.
You're rude. You're rude. You're rude.
I'm just saying, I don't want people thinking like, where's Ash been? I've been trying to bring Ash on.
Rude.
That's all I'm saying.
You are rude.
Bunch of slackers over
rude.
here.
You could have just said,
asked all the time.
Hey,
I was like,
Ash.
where are we gonna do it?
You could have just said, hey, Ash, welcome back.
Ash,
you got to put all of my business out there. That's how we stress you out.
Time out. I didn't put any business out. I just said the person I've been trying to get on the show. That was it. I didn't say nothing else.
We all know Ash is a slacker, so it's okay. It's okay.
At least you got him before
I didn't even say that. I thought I went the nicer route. But anyway, you have fans that...
got him before Shekinah, so, I mean, hey.
You have fans that miss you, so they're glad you're back.
Well, hello.
Emmy and Brandon, this is what you have to deal with for the rest of your life now.
Excuse me? This is what you got to deal with him. Remember,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I'm going to admit it.
Look, I swear we're professionals. I promise.
Speak for yourself.
Not during this podcast. Not during this podcast.
Speak for yourself. I'm not.
Try to be, Brandon. But Ash, we are really glad to have you back. The people have been looking for you. There's been Star Wars takes they've been looking for you to give. DC takes they've been looking for you to give.
Or terrible Star Wars takes.
DC
yes.
takes.
Excuse me?
DC takes would have been fun. Yeah, I'm excited to hear what you got.
I have a lot to say about DC. None of it y'all gonna like.
I might like some of it.
Maybe. But I'm happy to be back though. I have needed this because I have just been talking into the universe about all of this. And so I'm just ready to talk. So I'm happy.
Yeah. Ash is going to explode on DC. So I'll have to do
my best. Maybe not
explode for sure, Ash. Talking to you yesterday, for sure. You are going to make sure that DC hears you when you vent. So it's gonna be good. So I'm queuing it up so you guys are prepared.
I'm sipping my juice.
I'm sipping my water.
I got tea brewing somewhere.
Stay hydrated, my friends.
But I want to introduce two newcomers, not only to GVN but to GVN Talk. First off, Emmy. Welcome, Emmy, to GVN Talk.
Hello. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And Brandon, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to get into some hot takes.
Absolutely.
Got my ice cold water for it.
Right? Let's get right into it.
That's not going to be enough.
Let's not even take our time. Let's jump right into it. We got word over the last few weeks, rumors, even though I believe these rumors to be true, that Warner Brothers is giving us the full 360 and removing a Batman, removing a Superman, entering in an older Batman, a Batgirl, and a Supergirl. And I know the talk has been they're erasing Man of Steel, BVS, all of that. Mm-hmm. We don't know, because personally, I don't like the idea of you removing a Superman unless you're adding in a Superman, and then that's a whole another whirlwind of confusion. But Ash, the floor is yours to vent how you please.
Fun.
I mean, what else can I say other than I'm not surprised? Am I disappointed? Yes. Am I upset? Yes. Am I surprised? No. And my biggest issue with it, and I've been saying this, is that I don't care that they want to do a reboot. Do as you please. Y'all have been doing reboots since forever. The last couple of reboots y'all did in the comics haven't worked out. Now y'all did another reboot. So we used to it. If you're a DC fan, you're used to them doing reboots. My issue with it is, why are you rebooting some and picking and choosing what you want to reboot? If you're gonna reboot the entire shit. Get rid of all of it.
I agree. I feel like
Get rid of all of it.
Yeah, like why not just Crisis of Infinite Earths it just all together, just dead it all? Or, which is what I thought they were trying to do, Warner Brothers, God bless them. I saw the boycott WB hashtag and I was already exhausted and didn't even bother clicking on it. I was like, I thought they were just gonna like have them siloed in their own universes and just have like the characters exist in their own like continuities, which I think is a perfectly fine concept, because clearly, you know, with all due respect to whoever is over there, y'all don't know how to do a cinematic universe properly. So you do better on your own. So just have your Batman movie, have your Wonder Woman movie, have your Shazam movie. They don't necessarily need to be connected. It doesn't, you know, I know, you know, universes are sort of the thing in Hollywood at the moment. Like everyone's trying to create one, but it may not necessarily serve the characters, and it may not necessarily serve your bottom line, because when you try it, it's a hot ass mess.
Well, I'll say this: you can't fully reboot it because you're not willing to let go of Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot. You don't want to risk that. You don't want to risk that. Well,
here's the deal. So then this is what I'm going to say to that. They had since 2017, and I'm always going to come back to 2017 to figure that shit out. It's what, 2022? Somebody do the math. We don't do that in me.
5 years.
Here, right?
Yeah, but at
5
this
years,
point,
right? No, let me finish, right?
Go on.
Since 2017, actually, it wasn't even 2017, 2016, right? When they reacted in the way that they did to BVS, right? And then they started, you know, to do all of their hot mess, and they made their decision that they didn't want that director to come back, right? They didn't want Zack to come back. If they knew that was the case since then, why didn't they start to then figure out, oh, if we're not going to move forward with his universe, if we're going to do something completely different, if we're going to deny that this exists, etc., why didn't they take that time to then just do a reboot? Save all of the drama and all of the mess that they're in right now, and do it at a time when maybe fans would have been more likely to say, okay, we got the Justice League, we got that Justice League movie, we got BVS, Superman, fine, we'll live with it. You go and you do whatever you want to do, right?
Well,
so it's like,
it wasn't really that simple, because we have to remember, we're only in this mess we're in because Ben no longer wanted to be a part of DC. Now, I'm not blaming Ben, because a lot could be blamed on the fans and of management, but them not wanting to go forward with Zack wasn't the issue. If Ben still agreed to be Batman, we wouldn't be in this position that we're in. So that was,
and to be director.
Well, the reason he didn't want to do it is because of Joss. So
yeah,
no. Again, this isn't blaming anyone. I'm just saying the
I'm blaming.
started when Ben. So once he said that, then if you're DC, you then go, well, okay, well, if you're not going to be Batman, Matt Reeves doesn't want to have to connect to any of the Justice League. And then they said, well, okay, you do what you want to do. And then once they did that and things started to look good over there, they then were like, well, okay, well, what if we put another Superman here? Okay, what if we did Batgirl here, Nightwing there? So Ben kind of was the straw that broke the camel's back to get us to where we are now. And unfortunately, to what you were saying, Brandon, me personally, I am never of the mindset that if something connects, to not connect it. It doesn't make sense if you don't connect it. Because to me, it's just a whole bunch of stories that you're asking me to care about that never connect. And it's like, well, if they're not part of a larger world, to me, they're Elseworld. And to me, Elseworld things don't really amount to much. They don't really matter to me. They're like throwaway comics. So it's like, okay, cool. It's like watching.
Except for
let me play devil's advocate to that though. I'll agree on Brandon's point of just focus on a good story first, because that will help you create your backbone of your universe. First focus on a specific character, then start to build upon that. You can bring in other characters, you can bring in other stories and stuff like that. Just like Marvel. I'm not going to say exactly copy like Marvel, but they started with Iron Man, or and they just focus on a good story with Iron Man. Then
and there was no guarantee, and obviously they had that scene, you know, that I think it was the end credit scene with Nick Fury, but there was no guarantee that Iron Man was going to be successful. And this is pre Disney coming in. This, I mean, for all we know, Iron Man could have flopped up the ass, and then we wouldn't even be here.
Which
right now. Hollywood would be completely different.
Well, two things. Your devil's advocate, AJ, felt like you were saying exactly what I'm saying. I don't need a Justice League movie immediately. I'm just saying I want to know that when you do a Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Aquaman, Flash movie, that they're all building towards something. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I don't need you to immediately get to the end. And to your point, Brandon, if you're Warner Brothers, you luckily have something Marvel did not up until this point. Untouchable IPs that you legit never fail with. Like, I think people keep forgetting, because the media disliked Justice League and BVS didn't mean they didn't make money. They made money. Why?
They did. It made a lot of money.
So BVS did.
I wouldn't say a lot of money.
Was it Justice League?
No. Okay.
No.
When I say a lot of money, I mean a lot of money for Hollywood. Now, if you're talking superhero Hollywood, sure, it was trimmed around. You know, it was trimmed a bit, but it still made a really good. Actually, BVS made an absurd amount of money. I think it made
800 million.
Right, exactly. So
it depends. It always depends on what the budget is too, because you got to take that into consideration as well.
I'm big on box office numbers, so I think like BVS from a commercial standpoint was a success. Whether it was a critical, creative success, that's debatable.
But
I'm very much of the belief that it was not a creative success. But like Justice League, when you look at and it's hard to compare. It's really hard to compare like Justice League and Infinity War, Justice League and Endgame. Like it's not really an apples to apples comparison. But when you consider that, at least domestically, Justice League's entire run, Endgame made in like its first 2 days. I mean, that's a comparative flop.
Right.
So you know,
but I don't think we should compare the two, because again,
it's a very tough thing to do, to make that comparison. But like from like a pure number standpoint, like whatever, I think there are a lot of things that led to Justice League not doing as well as it could have. Like when you go back to your point, when you consider what Justice League is in terms of like an intellectual property standpoint, it should at least be number 2 of all time, behind like Avatar or behind Endgame. The fact that it's not, you know, must be really embarrassing for, you know, Warner Brothers. And I think that's sort of why, you know, why they've been panicking, and, you know, why their entire strategy, if they had one, I'm not entirely sure they did. A very reactionary strategy. I think that's sort of is leading to this whole kerfuffle. And now they're trying to, you know, reset with Michael Keaton and whoever they cast as Supergirl, and we still don't know what's going on with the Nightwing movie. Like, there's just, I think they really need a strategy. I think what's frustrating fans is that there's just no clear like strategy, and maybe that's what will come of this reboot. I just feel bad for Henry Cavill, because I think that he just
I think we're focusing way too much on this reboot. For me personally, this is going on what Ash was saying. I honestly don't think they care anymore about
Thank you.
this universe
They don't.
because they're being transitioned over to Discovery. And then Discovery is just going to end up, most likely, I'm not going to say they will, they most likely will fire most of DC's heads that's working on the movie.
Is Warner Brother is Warner Media being folded into Discovery, or is Discovery being folded into Warner Media?
No. It's a shared deal. So Discovery isn't full out buying all of Warner Media, but it's shared. It's why they came to the agreement to sell the CW. It's more so Discovery being more so the bank for Warner, and it's more so decisions on what will continuously make us money, what are some of the things we can trim. And I think the reason why the CW is going is, if you're Discovery, it completely makes no sense that I have a streaming service with with DC content and a television station with DC content. I could just fold one and put everything in one spot, so my audience doesn't have to go, well, will we see Grant Sperry interact with the Titan? Like, it shortens it, so people know I can focus on this, and this means this, and this means this, rather than having three different parallels for someone to pay attention to. But one quick thing I want to say before I pass it to you, Emmy, because I want to get your opinion on some of this. The biggest problem Warner has had, and I'll use this illustration to kind of drive my point home. Anyone who's ever watched The Office remembers the time where Michael Scott quit, right? Mm-hmm. What is the very first thing Dunder Mifflin started to do when Michael Scott left? It started to fold, right? Because your most prized possession was gone, and now there was nothing to keep things afloat, right? And why was Michael so successful? His love for the paper company. He loved it unlike anything else. He didn't see it as a moneymaker. He didn't see it as a thing that pays my bills. He saw it as, I love paper. I love selling it. I love talking about it. I love looking at it. And that cultivated into an environment where everyone did their job well. If you're Warner Brothers, you don't have a Michael Scott, right? Or a team of Michael Scotts. You have guys that look at paper and go, this makes money. How can we make more? Yeah. And that's where you're failing, is because you don't have someone that just looks at these properties and just weeps of joy out of the idea of having all these characters that you can explore every cosmos of the universe with, right?
Well, you need a nice mix. You definitely need a nice mix between the two. You need a person that does love the comics, and the same person to love the industry as well. So you can get both the business side in a person and the artistic side of a person. Just look at Kevin Feige.
But what I'm saying is, one thing Disney doesn't worry about is the numbers. Why? Because it translates. It's something you just never have to worry about. It just translates. So what I'm saying is, you just need someone who makes good movies, and the money will translate. You won't have to worry about the money. You have Batman and Superman. Those are two characters that from their inception to 2021 have always been a moneymaker. No matter what, good movie, bad movie, they make money, right? So it's the idea of, you don't have to overthink it. So telling me that you're building a universe where my Batman's 90 and Superman's gone, where do you think your money's coming from?
I don't think that's gonna last. I really don't.
Activate a new audience to who Batgirl, to who Supergirl. So it's like, well, 90. I don't understand. So, Emmy, I'm gonna pass it to you. What are your thoughts on some of this?
I mean, I haven't seen a ton of the DC stuff because honestly, it's all been kind of mediocre. But I do think that speaking to your point, is that I think the Marvel actors, genuinely like their characters a bit more than the DC actors. I think of someone like Chris Evans, right, who just kind of has this charisma that he brings. I don't really enjoy him, or I don't really enjoy Captain America either, but there's just, and Robert Downey Jr., there's something about those actors clearly loving their roles a lot that I think brings in audiences better. And I think the screenplays for Marvel are slightly better, that the actors just kind of can work with it more. With DC, they kind of fucked up really early because none of the like really starter movies were like that good, and the actors didn't really care about them that much. So now they have themselves in this little situation where it's like, well, the other movies were so like, I do kind of think that they might just need to start over, but then that would just be a mess. And so I think that they've really gotten themselves into like a tricky situation that I don't know if it has a solution.
But with them starting over, I don't think it really matters as long as the next thing is really good, and then people are just gonna forget about it because the movies are good. They'll just say,
they just don't interfere.
They really won't care. They'll say they care right now because it's happening.
Has a problem.
But when it happens,
Trayvon. So what you guys say?
I think Warner Bros. Just have a problem with interfering with these movies. Like, they don't allow them to actually be creative.
That's not an issue though.
I think it is.
I think
that's not an issue.
Y'all saying it.
Look, Kevin
y'all
Feige
saying it
always
because of the
interferes with
Batman. You haven't seen it yet.
Wait, hold on. Go ahead, Trayvon.
I think y'all are saying it because of the Batman. Y'all just assume that Matt
no.
Complete power.
I'm saying that off. I'm saying that off of David Sandberg said that he was able to do the movie he wanted to. Patty Jenkins said for Wonder Woman
84
1 and Wonder Woman 84, to a degree, she was able to do everything she wanted to do. James Wan said, "Look,
can we include the people that wanted to do that and then their work got axed because that wanted to have their screenplays as well, and it got axed as well. So like, I think a lot of the times that like people like they focus a lot on like the finished product that gets put out and how the interference happens there. But I also think we gotta also think about the interferences that happens before the product even gets put out, right? When screenplays are happening. So I think like I do agree with Trayvon that like if they don't interfere and they allow their writers and their directors to be creative and be able to give them criticism, give them feedback, because no one's devoid of that. You can't avoid that, right? But you shouldn't actively try to switch up how this writer, how this director is making their movie because you're scared about the numbers. Like, you know?
I think that's a fantastic point, especially because I was thinking about this a lot, you know, not to necessarily jump over to Marvel, but when watching Eternals, and like it to me, it was, and this is someone who kind of enjoyed Nomadland, but it was also a lot just to take in. I could see where Chloe Zhao had a very specific vision for what she wanted to tell, but Marvel also had a very specific vision in terms of how this was going to fit into the MCU. And it was clear from the beginning just what that tension was in the creative process and then like the production process. And I think what turned off a lot of people and why Eternals why it didn't necessarily resonate with a lot, and I enjoyed it for what it was just that, I guess, competition between the vision of the director and the screenwriter and then the direction of and the vision of the production company, in this case Marvel Studios. So
I'm glad you said that, Brandon, because that's my point. It happens in Disney all the time.
Yeah.
The Han Solo movie, literally they filmed it, most of it, and then said, I can't put together this vision you guys are asking me to do. So I'm just saying, if you feel as though Warner Brothers does that, that's fine. That's fine. Again, I need more people than just David Ayer and Kathy Yen for me to believe that this is a monumental problem for Warner Brothers, because it happens with Feige, it happens with Kathleen Kennedy, it happens all the time.
Okay, so I've never said it doesn't happen with Marvel. I feel like we have a cinematic universe at Marvel. I definitely feel like they tell them, hey, it needs to fit in this, like, you know, in this area. You can't tell me that the Eternals movie didn't feel like something completely different than what we've normally had with the it really felt like something that she wanted to make. That's how I feel. These movies at Warner, I heard so many times where they interfere. It's just not like, I can say the same thing happened with the Fantastic Four movie that what's his name tried
Josh
to do.
Trank.
Yeah, I can say the same thing. Like he got a lot of interference there too, where they took this movie over. Like this just happens. But
I just want to be clear. I'm not disagreeing that they don't put the hands in the cookie jar. I'm just saying it's a monumental problem amongst Hollywood.
See, I think the difference.
That's all I'm trying to say. It's
not. I think the difference is. I think the difference is that it's timing. It's timing of how they interfere. With Marvel, Kevin Feige makes sure the directors, the writers know what's going on beforehand. And with DC, they do it during filming, during like the middle of production and stuff like that. That's why I think there's like a difference between Marvel and DC.
We also have to remember this. DC does, because of them being so
reactionary.
Reactionary. They do a lot of test screenings. And if the test screenings don't work and they go, well, hey, you gotta rework this in the direction.
They need to cut that shit off.
Then in their mind, well, then you have to go.
The test screening just proves that they don't have confidence in their movie.
Exactly.
Let's not do that. Numerous people do test screenings. It's a good thing to do.
But here's the thing. So like my issue, like again, I agree with everyone. Studios, they influence and they interfere in whatever capacity that they do, right? Mm-hmm. If we want to isolate, because we're talking DC, we're talking Marvel, the successes of them, right? And within the superhero universe and all of that, right? If we just looking at those two, if you look at the interference that Marvel may have had in whatever movies that they've made, those movies have still been successful, right? They've still been successful with audience, with critics, in the long run, whatever, hindsight, whatever you want to say, for the most part. If you look at DC, I can't say the same thing with those interference. I can't say that the interference has been for the better of the movies. So for me, that's why I have the issue with them interfering as much, because it hasn't panned out so far to work like we've seen in the Marvel movies. So like that's the thing with it.
I think Marvel interferes, Disney interferes with story. And I feel like DC interferes with, it's gonna make me more money. I think that's their thoughts. I think they approach it differently. That's how I look at it.
I don't know, but again, look, we don't have to keep going, but I view it just as simple as I think DC has only had 2 misses. In its entire DCEU run, it's only had 2 misses. And those 2 misses were spectacular, but I only think they've only put out 2 bad movies. I don't think Man of Steel was bad. I don't think Wonder Woman was bad. I don't think BVS was bad. I don't think Shazam was bad. I don't think Aquaman was bad. I don't think the Snyder Cut was bad. I don't think James Gunn's Suicide Squad was bad. Now, David Ayer's Suicide Squad and Josh Whedon's Justice League, cool. I thought those both could have been drastically better. Those were 2 things that were heavily meddled with and came out the way that they did. I think if we're relying too much on, well, the box office, or well, the reviewers didn't like it. Well, the reviewers often don't like a lot of stuff that is outside of the world of Marvel. They destroyed Han Solo, and I thought that movie was very well done for all things that went into that movie. All the different hands that went into it. That was a very well done movie. So to me, I don't go by, well, critics didn't think it was good, or it didn't hit this amount of number. Was the movie good or bad? If you thought it was bad, no problem. Not here to argue that. But I personally feel as though DC's only missed, like tremendously missed, in 2 movies. That's all I'm saying. So to me,
I want to add 84 to that. I want to say it's a tremendous miss.
84 is a disaster.
Yeah.
But I want to add 84 to that list, because 84 is a movie. Let me tell you, I will rewatch a lot of the DCEU movies, give or take, which ones I'm enjoying. But let me tell you, I will not touch 84.
That's fair.
I will go along with Juana on this. DC does have more hits than misses. But the thing is that the universe is just lacking.
Inconsistent.
It's the overall universe that's the thing that's lacking in everything.
Well, I tell you what they're doing now will not make things any better. You are now
I
asking.
agree.
You're not wrong.
I agree.
No.
You
You're
are
not
now
wrong there.
asking an audience to get used to a world, possibly. Again, we don't definitively know anything, but possibly a world where Batman is literally the
On his deathbed.
oldest thing you could possibly dig up from the ground. And you have a world that might possibly not have Superman. So I don't know. I don't think they need to fully reboot, but I'm not against it. And
I have a question for everybody then.
go ahead.
How would you guys start, or how would you guys help fix the DCEU?
Let's go.
I
one
wouldn't
at a
want to
time.
touch it.
Hold on.
I
let's
wouldn't
go one
wanna
at a
touch
time.
it.
We'll start with you, Brandon. Go ahead. What are you saying?
I wouldn't want to touch it for like another, honestly, like 10 years. I think like focus.
Damn.
And the reason why I say that is because it is a complete mess, and I wouldn't even know where to begin rebooting it if it wasn't going to be like a Crisis on Infinite Earth situation. I like this. I'm not saying that they shouldn't touch it for 10 years. I'm just saying personally for me, I wouldn't even know where to start, because again, like I think it goes back to me. It's an issue whether of vision versus interference, like having an overarching strategy for how this looks. And I think that after the success of Avengers and what they set up with that, and after the success of, the Dark Knight trilogy, I think Warner Brothers sort of had a very specific idea of what they wanted DC to look like. And they just did, but they didn't have the execution down correctly. And they just decided you had Zack Snyder and his sort of strain, and then it kind of deviated with Wonder Woman, and then Shazam kind of sitting in that same sort of optimistic tone. And then Suicide Squad, I thought was incomprehensible, but that's just my personal opinion. I just wouldn't know where to even start like unspooling it if I just didn't reset it. And I don't know if enough time has passed for it to sort of go through like a complete reset. It's very possible. Like
With Spider-Man.
The Dark Knight Rises came out in 2012, and then Man of Steel came out in 2013. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but I kind of think that at this point you need to like find someone in the DC Comics like universe who has the institutional knowledge, like a Dwayne, like may he rest in peace, a Dwayne McDuffie or someone who truly like understood how these characters worked and how they could work in the cinematic medium, and then sort of just rebuild it from there. Because I think
let them do it.
Here's the thing, Brandon. It's very simple. Very simple. You start off the way you should always start off a DCEU universe. Start off with Batman. You start off with all your grounded characters first.
Yeah.
Then you build to Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern. You start with the very much grounded heroes first, so the world makes sense. When you start off with aliens and then you tell me a guy in a bat suit is fighting against other aliens, you then go, well, he looks as though he has no place here. You watch Justice League, the whole time Batman was just like, I'm here, and it's like, oh, we see you doing nothing. Like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Start where it makes more sense, where you're all grounded, and then you build aliens, and then you can build the Justice League, and then you can build outside of that. You start with Batman, though. Trayvon, again, this isn't a spoiler because this movie's been out for forever, but how much did you enjoy that second end credit scene of Batman: The Long Halloween, where the doorbell rung and he opened it, and it's like, oh, you're building something. It was dope, right?
That was cool. Yeah,
that's how you started off. You started off where it's a story. No one really knows where it's going, right? Because it's DC. You're temperamental. No one knows where this movie's going. And then you have something as simple as the doorbell rings and it's Oliver Queen at Bruce Wayne's door. And you're like, what? Oh, an Arrow movie's coming? Okay, I like that. Just as simple as that. Just because, again, like you said, Brandon, and I'm going to pass this over to Emmy, but like you said, I remember sitting in that theater, right? Everyone had left. No one knew to stay at the end of an Iron Man movie. Marvel hadn't built that up yet, right? I'm sitting there with my dad because we love sitting through the credits. And then Nick Fury pops up. first thing I said was, whoa, hold on. An Avengers universe? Is this even possible? And then you start seeing more movies and you're like, I only read about things
They're doing it.
Like I've only read about things like this. You know what I'm saying? I've never seen it actually, triculate down to this. So that's how you do it. Iron Man was a perfect way to go. Why? It's just a guy in a suit. There's no space. There's no, you know what I'm saying? Guy that fell from Krypton. There's nothing that fans have to really like, this is a lot. Very simple. It ends, lets you know that there's protocols happening to build more. And then what was your second movie? Captain America. Even more simplistic, right? You get it. I understand it. No problem. And then you get to Thor. And then the audience is like, whoa, there's beings outside of Earth? You know what I'm saying? That's how you do it. You slowly build. And then you just give them everything. And then you're good. So all I'm saying is it's a very easy fix. Reboot it all. Tell your audience, hey, I know you like Gail, okay, gone. They're gone. They're gone. Get them out of here.
Yeah,
No,
everybody.
I definitely agree. Like a reboot is necessary. I'm just not sure how. I think you have to sort of set that vision out because again, that vision was like that was Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. and then Kevin Feige came in a little bit later. So I think if I would, I guess then to answer your question, if I were to approach it, I would completely clear the deck. Maybe start with the Batman as like the beginning of this universe and just clear the deck completely and then sort of build on it from there. But I think at this point, this current, like, we're gonna meld universes from here, there, everywhere. It's just a complete colossal mess. And then I'll stop talking.
No, I don't disagree. You're just putting a Band-Aid on it. Like you telling me
right.
I'm getting a Batgirl and a Supergirl movie before I get a Green Lantern movie is not only disrespectful, but it's just the weirdest thing ever. Like you're building the Justice League's children, and you don't have a Justice League.
Young Justice.
It's like I don't even. It's like if someone introduced Robin, right? And then the Robin movie ends with Batman. And you're like, I'm sorry. That goes the other way. You give me a Batman movie that ends with Robin, and then I get Batman and Robin. I should never get a Robin movie that then ends with Bruce Wayne coming to adopt him. Why did I get that? I don't want that. I don't need a Supergirl movie that has no Superman. I want them together. I don't understand why it has to be split. I want them together. Batman, you tell me Batman exists in a Batcave, but your movie's all about Batgirl?
What?
So that's why you make Batman geriatric so that you can explain why Batgirl's running around.
You are stuck on him being John.
I will never like that. I will never like that. I will never like that.
He is on his deathbed. Batman is.
I will never like that. I'm sorry.
Might as well bring in Terry.
Oh, oh my God.
I know. Let's go away from that. Let's go.
They might have well. I mean,
that's the reason why I said that. The only reason why.
Let's go.
That's what I thought they were gonna do. Honestly,
reaction. I wanted Jawan's reaction. I would love that, but Jawan's reaction was all I needed.
I vehemently hate that. I never want to see Terry McGinnis ever. Once you get to that,
okay, Terry, I want to
throw everything in the garbage.
We got it, Juwan. We got it. You don't like it. Okay, move on now.
Ash knew that would upset me. That's why she did it. Emmy,
that was the point.
Start the DC universe.
I think, I kind of think that they've done too much like you might be able to tell that I'm not a DC fan, but I think they've done too much damage to all of the movies, and I think it's too late to do a reboot, frankly. So I think you take the characters that are most successful, like I think of Margot Robbie's
Harley Quinn,
for example, insanely popular, and she feels like she was like born to play Harley Quinn. I feel like I think she does it really well, and she has that charisma that I was talking about earlier. I think you take those sort of characters that are well liked and like well done, and you just kind of work with them a little bit, and then you start to bring in like other characters. Like I have high hopes for the Batman. I think that could do the same thing. And then you kind of work in these, like, I like how they have like different styles for different kind of heroes, right? Like the Birds of Prey movie is not the same like aesthetic or anything like that as the Batman is going to be, right? Which I think Marvel has that issue, like that everything is the same. And so I think you work with those different aesthetics until you can eventually, it could take a while, but you eventually build towards a bigger like Justice League kind of movie. And you just build on those different aesthetics. And then when they all come together, it's probably going to be a mess. But like, I think if I'm put in charge of DC tomorrow, I find the characters that are actually good and you just kind of work with them, slowly add on. And then you can finally, eventually, if you want, make a bigger come together movie.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Continuity, as you guys see, is very important to me. It is. You know what I'm saying? It'd be like if you told me you made an Optimus Prime movie, right? And then you're making a Bumblebee movie, but Optimus will never be able to talk to Bumblebee. My response then would be, I'm confused. Why? You know what I'm saying? Why? Like, oh, there's Leonardo, but he never talks to Donatello. They're a group. They're supposed to come together. You know what I'm saying? So that's what continuity is to me, is that it should all be building to something. Because if you're not, it's just, if you get halfway through a book and the book just goes, yeah, do me a favor. Forget everything you just read. We're gonna go on a whole new story and then end it, right? You're like, well, I just spent 4 days reading this. You tell me it doesn't matter anymore? So to me, that is very important. Trayvon, I'll pass it to you. You being someone who loves the Power Rangers, that's nothing but continuity. They keep bringing Tommy Oliver back for everything. He literally will be 99 years old trying to do a cartwheel into a scene. So you appreciate continuity. So how would you redo the DC universe?
See, it's okay. So it's hard because you did bring up Harley Quinn. There are certain characters that have been done really well, but you cannot, like with this Flash movie, they're really picking and choosing on what they're trying to keep and get rid of. And I just think that's going to be just even more mess. So I feel like if you're going to do that and you're going to get rid of Cavill and just redo the whole thing, maybe wait a little bit, maybe a couple years, maybe take a little break. I don't know. Like just stop for a little bit and come back and just start it over. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's a good idea to start with the Batman. I don't know about the Batman, because this one seems very much don't want to be connected. So I was like, I don't know what you do with that. I think that's the problem. Everybody's really excited about Matt Reeves' Batman. I just see the Dark Knight again. I see the completely separate thing that has no fantastical thing about it. Like, that's what I see again. I'm like, okay, like we got another Batman that's completely siloed. Yay. I mean, I'm happy. The movie looks great, yes. But I definitely love connected universes. I love that. That's what I want above anything else. If I had a choice, that's what I would pick instead. But we're getting this separate Batman, so I think this is just what we're going to deal with. But I really would think this Flash movie is not the right direction to go to wipe certain pieces. It just doesn't sound smart to me at all.
They do that shit with the animated stuff too, and
don't get me started over there.
I'm sorry. Go on.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I just had to redo it over again. But I mean, maybe they do need to take a couple years to do it though, and then start again. I don't know if they should do it right away. Like maybe they should hey, let's take a break and figure it out, guys. Actually plan and stick to the plan. Like, this movie didn't do as great as we wanted, but it still did fine. Not as great. Okay, now this movie gets cut out. And then this scene gets cut out. We want to add this character in. Don't do that.
To be fair, plans can change. Look at Marvel. Thor 2. They didn't like the way that was going, so they were like, hey, let's change it up a little bit. They brought in Taika Waititi. I wouldn't say everybody, but most people love.
That's because Chris Hemsworth said he wasn't feeling it anymore. He was like, I can't do this character anymore. We got to change it, and that's fine. Sure. But they were already successful though. They have a plan though. It's still Thor. It's not like he's a different character.
Yeah,
it's still the same Thor. He just is a little bit more goofy, and that's okay. But it's still they still have a plan. We can still see where they're going. DC have no idea where they're going.
I think you can't do the stop, wait a while, and then come back. Like Star Wars did it, right? But that's because we hadn't had anything but books, books and games. Now that Star Wars has consistent television programming, they couldn't tomorrow say, you know what, we don't like the way it's going. We're going to stop for 5 years and then come back. Your audience won't still, like, again.
No, hold on now.
Audience, like
DC
me
audience.
No, your core audience will still be there. But your audience that's kind of just like, yeah, it's on, I'll watch it. You know, I don't really have an attachment to any of these characters, but I'll watch it if it's on. They'll forget you. It's why all these geek level properties are pumping so much content, is because there's enough for me to forget about it, right? So if Star Wars goes and then Star Trek starts hitting on something, I'm there, right? Or if Star Trek goes and
but if Star Wars pop up again, you going back. Like I'm sorry.
I get what you're saying. I'm just saying
this ain't like Valiant and DC. This is DC.
To me though,
you're not ignoring it.
There's just you've given too much into it to take that much time. It's as simple as, hey, we threw it in the garbage. A year or two from now, you'll get a whole new movie. But 5 to 10 years like Star Wars did, that's unheard of. No one can do that today.
I said 3.
Well, I mean, technically, Star
Wars 10 years.
I don't know.
No, I said 3 for DC. Like just.
Yeah.
Break.
No, Star Wars was.
Which will probably take the amount of time to make the movie in the first place.
Yeah, Star Wars was from 2006.
With or without interference?
Without interference, hopefully.
What were you gonna say, Brandon?
No, I was just, on one hand, I kind of felt like maybe they could get away with it, just again because, well, DC is in a particularly unique space because it's a very well-known property across so many different forms of media, whether it's television or, you know, video games or toys or whatever, that I think they could probably get away with a cinematic break. Yeah. But then you also have to think about, I guess, the studio priorities, and it probably doesn't behoove, you know, Warner Media to say, we're just gonna not make anything for like 5 or 10 years because we need stuff to drive HBO Max subscriptions. And I think they could focus on that. You know, focus on HBO Max then.
Exactly. Focus on it. Exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Focus on HBO Max, right?
Ash and Trayvon have a point, because a lot of people feel right now they don't need any more Star Wars movies. They'll just take Star Wars from Disney Plus. You just give
exactly. And DC has always been good. And DC is the thing that DC has always been good at has never been the cinematic universe. Like, we don't touch that. It's always been their animated work, in their shows, in their movies. How many years that has brought in a lot of money for them. Now they have an entirely bigger platform to be able to do that, and not just release them on DVD. Now they're able to release them on DVD, digital. They can do it with their streaming service. That's why they had DC Universe, the streaming service. Before that, people were eating that up. You had your movies, you had your shows, you had your animations, and you had your comics all in one place. Like, they have, I think they had some of the comics. Some of the comics.
Some of them, wasn't all of them. It wasn't
all of them.
No, it was there. It was their cream of the crop ones. I tell you that.
Yeah, and so.
No, I mean, it's a route to go for sure. I will definitely say, Brandon, you don't ever have to worry about Star Wars taking a break. Now that Disney owns them, they don't get breaks. You don't get breaks in Disney.
What's a break? Yeah.
Star Wars will be pumping content.
Break what? Who?
Yearly. If Disney could work it, they'd be pumping content monthly.
I mean,
Disney is like Amazon.
Did they have a movie lined up?
Say it again, Trayvon.
Do they actually have a movie lined up though? Or
what,
we just
Star Wars?
Yeah, I don't know.
They've had numerous.
No, there was only one movie that was announced, and that was it.
No. They've had numerous movies announced. Whether they stick is the question.
I don't know if they have anything in progress.
The two dudes for Game of Thrones were supposed to do a movie. Feige was supposed to do a movie. Patty Jenkins was supposed to
hear about these people. Hear about the people,
Waititi.
not what the name of the movies are.
Right. Taika Waititi was supposed to do a movie. So whether they stick is the question. But there's been a few movies that are supposed to be happening. As of now, the movie that was supposed to be coming out, the early Patty's.
Yes.
And she looks, again, like I said before, like she's not agreeing with Disney's vision for that movie. So it looks like before we know it, that movie will just not happen.
Shelved.
No, I don't think it'll be a show. I think the only reason that was happening is because of Patty's love for pilots. I think if Patty leaves, that whole project gets thrown in the garbage.
I don't know. I done heard it. That's the thing. That's one thing weird about Star Wars movies and Disney. I've heard so many directors like, I'm doing a Star Wars movie. Now I'm not, because my movie I just didn't do too well. So they cut me. That's what I feel like happened with
I think Kathleen, as we see, has things the way she wants them. And a lot of these directors want the freedom to do the movies how they want. And she don't play that. So that's what happens. It's why we never got our Colin Trevorrow movie, and instead we got
Rian Johnson.
Yeah, we got The Last Jedi. Sorry, I had to emotionally cry. AJ, before I'm gonna go to you and Ash before we get off at DC. How are you restarting the universe? It was your question. Let's throw it back at you.
I'm destroying the shit, destroying everything. Batman, I'll create as the base. Robert Pattinson stays. He'll be the base. Everything else, we don't need no time. Just destroy everything. I don't care about rebooting, rebuilding. Just destroy it and start with the Batman.
That includes all,
especially since the Batman is creating his own universe. That's a good start anyway. We're getting the Batman, then we're getting Gotham, and then we're getting the Penguin spinoff series. So that's a great way to start it off. Like you said, Juwan. Start with the ground up, the ground characters first, and then start to build throughout each universe. Look, Trayvon, look at Iron Man. Iron Man wasn't supernatural at all. And they built to Captain America, which wasn't supernatural until like the middle of the movie where they start to introduce the cosmic cube.
Time out one second, AJ. Trayvon, I do hope you know how me and AJ will view this Batman will always probably be different than how the masses.
I just wanted to be successful, but that's the only way it will.
To me, I only need it to be good. I don't equate.
That doesn't work for Warner Brothers.
No. I get what you're saying. I don't fear anymore. To me, if this movie is a masterpiece, it doesn't connect to anything anyway. So if this movie is a masterpiece but doesn't do well or isn't received well, and they go, all right, well, we're not doing anymore, I won't feel heartbroken. It wasn't connected to anything to begin with.
But more than likely, if it's good and if it's like well received, box office wise and critical wise.
No, but that's what Trayvon
is definitely gonna.
He's saying he hopes.
I'm hoping it does,
and I'm saying that if it doesn't, but I personally love.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't care if it does or doesn't.
That's all I care about.
Yeah. Hypothetically, it could be a great way to start another universe, but me right now, I don't give a shit. Just give me the Batman. I just want the Batman.
I mean, look, there's one huge question to come out of the Batman.
That's the way you have to look at it.
There's one huge question to come out of the Batman. We saw the set photos of a Halloween party that exists. Again, we don't know if it's actually in the movie or not. But there was a Halloween scene being filmed where people were wearing Superman and Wonder Woman costumes. Now, if that's in the movie, that means Wonder Woman and Superman exist. So could that be a backdoor? I don't know. Could they be building the Elseworld Justice League? I don't know. Like I don't know. It would be easier to speculate if there wasn't another Batman about to be in the DCEU, right? Because if there was just no Batman, we could speculate like, okay, they could just pluck. But knowing that Michael Keaton's there, it's like, well, I don't need two Bruce Waynes, you know? So it's like, well, you can get AARP out of here and bring in Youth and pluck him right in. I don't know. As you guys see, I don't like him being old.
You said
to be honest, dude, we're getting a lot of new stuff on here. We're getting Kal-El back. Most like rumored, we're getting Kal-El back. not Henry Cavill's.
No. But be specific,
Right.
so you don't confuse anyone. It's Calvin
Exactly.
Ellis.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
it's
you.
not Cal Ellis.
I apologize.
Don't lie to people. Do not lie to the audience.
We're not
WB
getting
is
a
lying to
black
us.
Clark.
I mean, technically
We're not
that's
getting a
his
black
name,
Clark.
but yeah, we're also getting a Supergirl. We're also getting there's a Black Canary show coming out. Mm-hmm. You can have these secondary characters where all I care. It's just people still want Superman. People still want Clark Kent. People still want Bruce Wayne. So it's good to start off with.
Listen. I hear about,
we hear about Bruce Wayne. It's just
Black Canary. You hear about this Black Canary. We hear about this Static Shock. I just want them fast tracked as much as Peacemaker was. That's all I'm saying.
Wait, say that again?
That is you are wishing upon a star.
I'm just saying. I'm just tired of that.
When you wish upon a star.
I'm just tired of that. Peacemaker was fast. Like,
didn't you see they pushed Blue Beetle back, right?
Did they? I thought they moved it to theaters. They moved it to theaters.
Oh, they moved it to theaters. Never mind. Ooh, look at me lying to the masses.
To theaters, yeah.
Look, that hate for DC is just it's jumping. It's jumping.
I don't like how he jumped in front of Static Shock, but
all right, let's get away from DC.
Wait, no, excuse me.
I'm not skipping you, Ash. Don't worry. Don't listen to AJ. I'm not. I'm not skipping.
Like, wait a minute.
I'm not skipping you. No, let me just go to you. Go ahead, Ash. How would you recommend this DC universe?
Wipe it all out.
We already know what she's gonna say. Just bring back Zack Snyder and be done with it.
No. I don't need
Please
that.
don't.
No. Okay.
Please don't.
One, I respect them too much for that. Two, wipe it all out. Okay. I want them to start over, right? Start over with Batman, not the Batman. Do not start with Matt Reeves' movie. I like the idea of that being in its own place. Start over, don't include that. Do not pick and choose from this current universe what you want. Do not ask your audience to do all the more work than they're already doing right now, trying to figure out where's this universe going. Start over, just like you did with New 52, where you said it was a hot mess. We were wrong. Do the same thing with this universe. Let your fans know that, and talking about the core fans, the people that are DC fans and they want to see this universe be successful, they want to see DC be successful, let them know that, hey, we're taking the time, and within the next 2 to 3 years, this is what you're going to be seeing from us in theaters. Bring in people that have that balance of being able to build that world, to introduce these characters in a new way, while also doing the marketing part, because you know you're going to want to have that as well, right? So it's like reboot all of it and trust that your fans, your core fans, that they're going to bring in those people. They're gonna come. Trust that the general audience, they're going to be interested, because at the end of the day, you're still DC Comics. You are still one of the biggest IP in the world. You're still DC Comics. And as you're focusing on rebooting that and bringing in the right people, go to HBO Max. Bring out content there. Whether it's shows, whether it's animated series, whether it's little behind the scenes things, do that. That's all I want. And then take your time and don't interfere with people once you know their ideas are a little bit out there. But if it's really, really out there and it doesn't really fit with the vision that you want in terms of continuity, then that's fine. But don't be...
Wait a minute. How do you know that's not what they've been doing?
You know what? Look at the outcome.
Oh.
But, okay. But
look at the outcome. What do they got to do now? Flashpoint?
Again, they had to do Flashpoint for more reasons than interference. Again, if Ben was still here, we wouldn't be in this predicament we're in.
Well, maybe if they hadn't brought in Joss Whedon, Ben would still be here.
Ben was always very, very, very particular about this character. He won't gonna do it no matter what. They got rid of Josh. Josh ain't even around no more. They got rid of him after Justice League, and Ben still left.
But the damage was still done.
Oh, bah humbug. Tell Ben get over it. You were Batman and dating J-Lo. Get over it. Your life's fine. Anyway, move on.
Go ahead,
Brandon.
I mean, to be like, I actually once. I mean, a sidebar to the sidebar. I liked Ben Affleck as Batman.
Thank you.
I thought BVS was a disaster, but I thought that he was like one of the few. I'll preface that by saying I thought the theatrical version was a disaster. I got when I saw the Ultimate Edition, I was like, okay, I get what he was trying to do. I still think it's a disaster, but I think that Ben Affleck. I think once it became clear that Warner Brothers kind of didn't know what the hell they were doing, he's like, I have an Oscar. I have 2 Oscars. Like, why am I putting myself through this? And especially after he was talking about, I think it was an interview with the Hollywood Reporter about just like how it was just such a terrible experience overall. I can understand why he would just be like, forget it. Mm-hmm. And I kind of hope that people just like let him forget it. Like, he's with J-Lo. She's like, look, you're dropping the alcohol, you're dropping the young girls. If you want this old thing back, get it together. And he's like, okay, well, I'm getting it together. So he's leaving all that behind.
That's not a luxury you have if you're Ben. Michael Keaton was saying, I am Batman at a graduating ceremony. And that man hasn't been Batman since the 80s. You don't ever leave it. He will.
He's Ben Affleck.
Exactly.
Honestly, like
he will. I tell you what.
He loved the character.
He had an Oscar before. Like, do people like? He had an Oscar before like Batman was even a glimmer in, like, before it was a glimmer in Christopher Nolan's eye. Like, I think when you look, like, when he passes in like 30 or 40 years, it will be a footnote in his career. So it's not like Henry Cavill where it'll be like his key thing.
I'm going to tell you this. Ben will be remembered for his time as Batman more so than anything else. It was literally the most divisive thing in all of geek history when he decided he no longer wanted to be Batman. When he came in as Batman and then when he left as Batman, equally had the same large impact. You will have kids that will remember, not kids, I just mean people in general, will remember him as Batman more than they will as Jiggly or whatever that J-Lo movie was he did, or whatever that movie was he won an Oscar for. I don't even remember the name of it anymore.
Argo.
He's Batman, and will be remembered as Batman.
He will be devastated if he's remembered as Batman. I'm sure he'll be devastated if that's his legacy. His overall, like, his.
That's what happens when you sign on. I can tell you right now, Hayden Christensen, God bless your heart. I've watched every Christian Haydenson movie. That is Anakin Skywalker. Mm-hmm. That man could play Jesus in a movie and win an Oscar, and he is Anakin Skywalker.
Hayden Christensen isn't Ben Affleck though.
Okay, I'll give you a better one. Here's a better one. You ready? Brie Larson. I don't know the movie she won an Oscar for. She's Captain Marvel. She will die Captain Marvel. That's it.
But Brie Larson isn't Ben Affleck.
Captain Marvel.
Okay, we can go with Iron Man. Then we can go with Robert Downey Jr.
I think the same thing is going to be true of Kristen Stewart. Like, I think she's going to win an Oscar this year, but she's always going to be like 100%. Bella Swan. I mean,
exactly.
Such a shame because she is a good actress, but like 100%. You're always going to be Bella Swan. You're always going to be remembered.
God rest her soul. God rest her soul. Betty White just passed. Golden Girls. Don't nobody care about what else she did. Golden Girls. That's it. That's the epitome of who you are. That's what we'll remember.
Okay, example right now, right? When Robert Pattinson was coming in as Batman.
Twilight Boy.
Exactly.
It's definitely gonna be Edward Cullen. He's always Edward Cullen to me. He'll always be Edward Cullen.
Exactly.
I swear to God, I was the only one defending Robert Pattinson at the time.
I was right there with you. You didn't know me, but I was right there with you. Because even he was there. He was in serious movies. He was in how many serious movies after Twilight, right? People weren't paying attention, right, to his work post Twilight because that's just what people know him as. Now, hopefully, the Batman is successful, and then that changes, and it's not Robert Pattinson, Edward Cullen, Twilight. Robert Pattinson, fucking Batman.
Right, 100%.
It's like Ben Affleck, Daredevil.
No one.
I'm just saying. That's what I thought of, man. Sorry, that was me. I was like, Daredevil. Okay.
That is so rude. if you're gonna remember that,
I had no problem with it. Look, I don't hate
remember
those movies,
Geely,
though, so.
whatever that movie was. What was that movie with J-Lo?
I know what she's talking about.
It was Geely, and I
Geely,
think Ben Affleck would prefer to people forget that too.
Oh, trust
that
me,
was
I
a
forgot.
disaster.
Don't worry, Ben. I forgot that. You being Batman is something that will be on your tombstone. Is you were Batman. Simple as that. I can't even name a Michael Keaton movie that wasn't Batman. And he won an Oscar or was nominated for one.
He was nominated for Birdman, yeah. The funny
And
thing
then he
about
was
this
Vulture.
the funny thing about this conversation, though, is that it kind of sort of circles back to the article that I wrote and posted on Geek Vibes Nation yesterday about about Hollywood's like movie star problem, because Ben Affleck I think Ben Affleck is one of the few like remaining movie stars in that traditional sense where he wasn't necessarily known as a role as he was a persona. And now now we're kind of making the argument or sort of trying to debate whether or not that will be the case in the future. Now, with people post Ben Affleck, post Angelina Jolie, post Will Smith, it's now like, again, you've Got Kristen Stewart, who will hopefully and most likely win an Oscar for playing Princess Diana. People still see her as Bella Swan. You've got Chris Evans, who, love him as Captain America, couldn't open a film to save his life outside of the MCU, being known as Captain America. And the thing that
It makes good movies, though.
No, and I love him, but it's just, I think the problem is, is it because it's like this, almost like this new form of typecasting where people like actors aren't given this opportunity to demonstrate the full breadth of their charisma, the full breadth of their range and their talent. And that's why everyone lost their mind when they found out that Chris Evans might be playing Gene Kelly, because the idea of this guy who's so firmly known as Captain America playing someone as iconic as Gene Kelly was just completely inconceivable to them. Yeah. And then you kind of wonder, like, in 30 or 40 years, will Chris Evans sort of have that opportunity to be played by somebody, because again, like, he's known as a role rather as a persona. So I think it's a really interesting conversation. And I think, Hollywood sort of kind of fucked itself by leaning so hard into IP that they sort of killed the idea of what a movie star used to be. Because now, if it's true that Ben Affleck will forever be known as Batman, and his movie star persona has been completely overshadowed by that, what does that mean for his legacy?
Well, it means what today means, which is I need something. Okay, so let me say this, and Brandon, I'm glad I have you and Emmy here for this, because I know how strongly you guys feel about this topic. I've said for years, AJ can attest to this, people want new movies, but only in theory. They don't actually want new movies, right? So when I tell you, not you guys, like I'm just saying.
In general, yeah.
When I tell people, like, hey, Green Knight that came out last year, that movie was amazing, right?
Oh, fucking
yeah.
Right?
Oh my God.
It was very good, right? The majority of people that are asking for new movies didn't see that before Fast and the Furious, right? So then you go, well, you don't want new movies. You just like to complain about new movies and then don't go see them. So when you look at Ben, the reason why we are so gung-ho on the fact that he will be remembered for that is it's probably the only thing people today can remember that he did, because they don't watch all the other intricate movies. It's why I don't put too much pressure on the Oscars anymore, because it's like, well, the Oscars used to mean something for anything. You're nominated for an Oscar, you're getting big movies. Now you can skip right by that. It's like being famous meant something 20 years ago, right? Now a little kid can do a farting compilation on TikTok. He's on Jimmy Fallon. So you kind of have to learn what it means to be popular, because anybody can be popular. So I mean, look, we've seen it before, right? So I look at Hollywood in the sense of, you could do a superhero movie, right? You could be a secondary in Fast and the Furious, right? And fans love you. And then Hollywood goes, well, wait a minute. She said 4 words in Fast and Furious, but fans love her. All right, how about this? How about she plays, one of the biggest performers ever in our next movie, right? That's what we see happen. That's
Why
what
are you going there?
I'm just saying that's what we see happening in Hollywood now, to where it's like you used to have to win an Oscar, right? To do something huge.
Damn.
Today,
Why she gotta catch a stray like that?
I mean,
I didn't give a name to the person.
I mean,
we know. Come on now.
I'll give the name. Gal
Exactly who
Gadot.
you're talking about.
Gal Gadot, and Gal Gadot. That's the exact name. I'm not gonna. Listen. I thought she was so good in Wonder Woman, and I have to give Patty Jenkins her due for finding the perfect role for her. But
Wait, what?
ooh, it's just, I don't know if she, outside of Wonder Woman, if she really has it as a.
I enjoyed
Zach
her.
found her. Zach found her.
No.
Zach,
I think Brandon's speaking to, for that Wonder Woman movie, putting her in a position to succeed rather than all right, let's give. Because if you think about it, what Patty did in that movie was the same thing Zach did in BVS. Zach went, okay, I have somebody that's a newcomer to a lot of people. So all of the speaking lines are in Ben and Henry, right? And then you float in Diana.
Henry barely had any lines. He barely had any lines.
The importance of that was Henry and Ben, and then you float in some Godot, right? So I think what Brandon's saying, Brandon, please correct me if I'm wrong. You put her in a position to where the movie wasn't depending on her, because you had Chris Pine, you had all these other really good actors. So the burden wasn't on her to carry that movie. It was just to kind of flow with it. Just flow with it. That's it.
I think you're kind of agreeing with what I was saying, but I think it's like creating a universe where any limitations that she had as a performer kind of leveled out, because you had a Chris Pine and you had a really good story, and you had great direction and so on and so forth, so that she could shine in that role.
I agree.
Take that away and you've got Death of the Nile.
I'm going to be honest with you. No, I'm thinking Orient Express. Never mind. I'm sorry. Thinking Orient Express.
Yeah, murder. She's in Death in the Nile, and people have been savaging her on the internet for probably. Which I hope that line reading is supposed to be ironic, because if it's not, then it's not. That movie is not looking good.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. The guy who did that is the one who did Murder on the Orient Express.
I think it's a Kenneth Branagh.
It is, and he's just not good writing these murder mystery movies. He's just not. Go ahead, Emmy. You were saying something?
Wait, I'm just learning that Kenneth Branagh is doing this Death on the Nile thing.
Yeah,
I think it's him. Yeah.
No, it is him. It is him, because it's supposed to be a follow-up, but not really a follow-up of what Murder on the Orient Express was.
It's like an Agatha Christie cinematic universe. God help us all.
Yeah. I mean, these are his movies.
Well, because I just saw Belfast, and I know that's him, and that was just a mediocre disappointment. So I'm just
I don't. Okay, so I'm so glad someone said it, because I liked Belfast, but I was, for it to be quote unquote the best picture front runner, I didn't get it. I just thought it was okay, not for it to be the best film of the year.
Last year? For sure not.
Of 2021, yeah.
100% not even close.
I was so it was very charming and likable, but I was just there wasn't anything about it that sort of screamed, oh my God, this punched me in the face as a film that I typically look for when I think of Oscar caliber films, or even just enjoyable A-level films in general.
Now, no, go ahead, Emmy. Go ahead.
Go finish.
No, I was actually going to pose this question to you, so you go first, and then I'll pose the question to you.
I was just gonna say, the Oscars Best Picture does not actually celebrate the best film of the year, because one, that's too subjective a thing to actually say. And two, I think with the exceptions being like Parasite and Moonlight, it just kind of generally celebrates like a crowd pleaser that tends to be the self-indulgent Hollywood thing. So like Belfast, right, was not great. Birdman, right, is another example of that. And so, I mean, I can name a ton of movies this year that were better than Belfast, but because it is about and because it is like this like stupid like, oh, like let me like look at how my life is, it doesn't actually say anything at all in the movie. Like it says nothing. It will win Best Picture. Like there's not a doubt in my mind that it's going to win Best Picture. Unfortunately,
I don't think it will. I feel like I think the like momentum that it had going into like the through the fall festival season is sort of kind of abated a bit. I don't know what the front runner is. I'm personally rooting for. Actually, I haven't even thought about it yet, but I don't think it's Belfast. I think people are kind of sort of cooling.
No, I'm rooting for a movie.
I would love for the Green Knight to get in.
Look, I'm on an island here. I'm not looking to defend it. This is just my opinion. The best movie I saw last year, if I'm taking Dune out of it, 100% was The Harder They Fall. I thought that was one of the most
that was really
year. And James deserves a Oscar nomination for that movie. Now, I'm not going to say what it was because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But again, the big reveal at the end, I thought was kind of just like, well, you fumbled your way into that. But everything else in that movie was flawless, from the score, the acting, the talent, the writing. I loved it. So that to me, outside of Dune, was number one.
Also, a hot take. I really loved Don't Look Up. I really love them. Yeah, hot take on this part. I love Don't Look Up. I
like Don't Look Up, but I felt as though that movie was never trying to be anything more than comical. So that's why
it's supposed to be like a spoof type of movie,
that's why I never really
which is what I really liked about it.
It was cool for what it was. I tell you what, you know what it was? It was what This Is the End was trying to be.
Oh, this is this is the end. That's just a straight up funny movie. All in all,
it wasn't even that. I 35 minutes into that movie said, "All right, can I jump into the hole in the ground? Can I join you guys? I can't do this anymore." But Amy, so my question to you was, because I have this for you and Brandon, because I know how much you guys value the Oscars. My question is, we know Kevin Feige and all of the Sony team are trying their hardest to get Spider-Man. I will start by saying, I've always told my dad, you can't nominate superhero movies because once you do, the Academy will die. The true essence of what the Academy is supposed to be will die because you'll have people feeling as though superhero movies should win it every year because you get 90 a year. So you're going to have people pick out like at least 3 that they're like, well, that should win it. Like, I mean, come on now.
I mean,
see when he cried, that has to be Oscar worthy.
But this one's different.
It's not, because then you have to go back. You have to go back to Wonder Woman. You have to go back to Black Panther.
No, I don't feel the same.
It starts a whole hullabaloo. But here's the reason why. I mean, I'm going to pass it to you. Here's the reason why I said you can't nominate superhero movies. They have a cheat code, right? So when people go into a superhero movie, no one ever goes in there saying, "Bro, I'm about to get an Oscar-worthy performance or story." No, it's more so the visuals, the concept of you're seeing Spider-Man, right? So it's like, well, if I'm a filmmaker and I'm making a movie about 2 cowboys in the middle of nowhere, right? And I'm evoking all the emotion out of these 2 characters in a Western movie, and you just have a guy swinging on webs, what does that say for the art form that I'm producing? It says I should just get the hell out of the way, right?
Make something better.
No, but Trayvon, that's what I'm saying. It's not that it's not good.
I'm joking.
It's just that, you know what I'm saying?
I get it.
Because at least for Spider-Man,
we need the boring movies to win. Got it.
I didn't say that.
Oop, and oop. Oops, oops.
But
ooh, child.
I will ask you.
I'm just saying, you know.
Think that if Spider-Man even gets nominated, it will drastically change the landscape of the Oscars moving forward.
It won't.
I don't say that it will like drastically change the landscape. Do I think it will be disappointing to see it nominated for Best Picture. I do, because I'm sort of on the train. This is a hot take and I'm gonna get yelled at for this, but I didn't actually love the movie. And to see it nominated alongside something like Power of the Dog, which I think was just a really, really good movie. That is actually like the peak of what cinema should, or even like The Harder They Fall. Like that was an awesome movie. That is like, it's just apples and oranges. So I think when you start to nominate those for Best Picture, it's like, it is a little bit insulting to like a Jane Campion type, right? But then it also, right? I think what the Oscars try to do, and what they should be doing is taking really good movies that sure people don't watch, right? But like that's what like great art I think is, not something that appeals to the like general public. And I know that sounds pretentious and insane of me, but like I think I appreciate Spider-Man and Marvel movies. I think they're awesome. Do I think that they should be nominated for Best Picture? Absolutely not. Except when you run into things like Black Panther, which was actually a genuinely very good movie. I think that's a sort of exception. But
or Logan, I could have even though, because Logan did its best not to lean on the mythology of comic books, right? It tried its hardest.
Right.
You only see him unleash his claws a handful of times, right? As opposed to any other time you saw him in an X-Men movie. But that movie just defined, like that movie, if someone said, all right, take a comic book movie and show it to a film class and tell them this is how you go about acting, that is the movie. That is the only superhero movie I would put in and just go, just learn, soak it up. Look, just soak everything up you're seeing here. Because what's his name? Who played Professor X? Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman put on a clinic. That scene where Xavier gets stabbed in the bed and Logan comes up and goes, "It wasn't me, I swear." And you just have Charles going, "It's okay, it's okay." It kills me every freaking time. Like that was just beautiful. But Trayvon,
you rewatched that movie?
Did I watch that movie?
You rewatch it?
Oh yeah, numerous times. Anytime I see
all
it on
the
TV,
time.
yeah.
No,
it's beautiful, beautiful.
Once. And I was there.
Actually, I go back because I got into a fight with not a physical fight, but an argument with the director. A huge scooper
Mangold?
that I look up to James Mangold. A huge scooper that I look up to, that I used to look up to, came out with a scoop saying Deadpool was in Logan, right? So James came out and said that's a lie. This is why you don't listen to scoopers. And because I was just getting into the scoop game, I defended this said scooper. And James is like, all right, I want you to keep the same energy when Deadpool's nowhere near this movie. And I said, okay, if Deadpool is in this movie, you owe me an interview. At any point of this movie, you owe me an interview. And of course, it was splitting hairs because technically Deadpool, for some people, was a scene before the movie even started. You know what I'm saying? It was like a kind of like a trailer kind of thing for Deadpool. So he wasn't in the movie, but he also was near the movie. So the scoop wasn't completely wrong. You know what I'm saying? So anytime I see that movie's on, it reignites my feud with James Mangold. So I have to watch it. But what I'll bring to you that here is, Trayvon. It's a loose comparison. So don't hold me fully to it. It's a loose comparison. Do you remember the year Beyonce lost the Grammy?
Which time?
Okay.
Which time?
I'm sorry. Time out.
Taylor.
Let me say this. The numerous times Beyonce lost Grammys. Now, here's my mindset, right? If you're the Academy, you have a very difficult decision to make, right? Because you go, okay, here's a newcomer in Taylor Swift. If we give it to Beyonce, how mainstream can we actually make Taylor Swift if we're only allowing Beyonce? And again, I'm not saying allowing like her star power wins it. She had great albums. I'm not saying that. But you give no recognition to these other people who have no other platforms, right? So you feel as though if I can say Grammy Award winning Taylor Swift, it could launch her in a whole new stratosphere, right? So it's like if you're in the Oscars and you're getting best lead actor and it's this newcomer, but I'm giving it to Tom Holland, who already has a whole huge stratosphere off of just being Spider-Man, right? It then possibly could bury that actor who needed that Oscar to get into a higher stratosphere, because he's not a Marvel character. He's not a DC character, a Valiant or anything. So I'm saying I kind of feel as though if you're the Academy, it kind of puts you in a very weird position, because you're like, all right, cool. Is Spider-Man good enough that maybe you could look at it for an Oscar? Sure. Let's not even argue that. Let's not split hairs. Let's say sure, right? But then it's like, well, then, damn, are we going to say he was better than Homeboy from Green Knight? Heck no. But then it becomes a popularity
Dave Patel.
It then becomes a popularity contest, because then you go, well, Disney is everywhere. So then the Academy might feel like, all right, well, this is Tom's award. It's like, well, hell no. Tom didn't outact Dave Patel last year. Not even close. So that's why I'm saying it then becomes like, well, are we in a popularity contest, or are we going off just strictly the best actor? And if we are, Tom Holland's not in that conversation out of the list of other actors last year that you could make a strong argument for. That's all I'm saying.
I have some things to say. I think that it's helpful to think of the Oscars as Hollywood trying to put out the best version of itself. What that means at any given point is different. And there's this great YouTuber who goes by the name of Be Kind Rewind, and I've learned a lot about sort of the history of the Academy Awards through her videos. So I would definitely check those out. So, but yeah, I agree with Emmy's point that it's very difficult for the Academy to, define itself as honoring the best in cinema, because what is considered best is subjective. I think what's more helpful is for it to define itself as honoring, what Hollywood wants to put out as the best version of itself. Because at the end of the day, Hollywood is an industry. Now, and also honoring like craft and, so on and so forth. In terms of Spider-Man, I loved No Way Home. I thought, just the level of payoff, the level of storytelling, like organization, paying off a certain character's, storyline. I don't want to spoil it, was fantastic. And in my beautiful dark twisted fantasy, that person might have some sort of stake in the best supporting actor category, honestly, because he kind of stole several scenes. But it's fine, because he'll be getting in for another category. We know that. And I think that's actually going to help his campaign for best actor. So yeah, at this point, you know who it is. But I don't think that Spider-Man No Way Home, as enjoyable as it was for me, necessarily reflected the best of Hollywood as itself. I think that it wasn't enjoyable. Yes. Was it well? Like I don't want to break down into the different elements of it, but in comparison to The Power of the Dog, The Green Knight, hell, even The Lost Daughter, which I just saw a couple of days ago. Or Dune, which personally to me I still think is Hollywood as its best version of itself. Amen. To me, Spider-Man No Way Home just is not in that conversation. Black Panther, the reason why I was a big advocate for Black Panther as a Best Picture nominee is because it had the cultural cachet of bringing something completely new to the Hollywood conversation and having some really interesting conversations about, how, Black superheroes are seen and what they really mean. That was representative of Hollywood as a best version of itself.
That's fair.
Same with the Dark Knight. And I think you could also make a similar case for Wonder Woman, although I think it's at a bit lower caliber. I think that if you look at it from that lens, then I think there is a case for certain comic book films and other blockbusters as well, because there was a time when small indies didn't break into Best Picture. It was Silence of the Lambs, it was Titanic,
it still hurts.
Tootsie.
It still hurts me that Skyfall wasn't nominated. Skyfall not only is the greatest James Bond movie ever, it was just such a good movie. Jane Judi Dench? Why can I never
Judi Dench, yeah. I mean, Jane is a title, but yeah. Okay.
I said Jane. That's where I messed up. Thank you, Brandon. Her name just drives me insane. But yeah, Skyfall is a movie I look at and I go, well, if we're going to start nominating things that aren't your typical nominations, I want to start in those caliber of movies well before I get anywhere in superhero movies. I want Skyfall to be looked at again. That movie was amazing. Top to bottom, that was probably the most flawless James Bond movie ever. So I'm like, again, Trayvon, I'm not saying that your feelings for it being nominated are not valid. I'm just saying once you open that can of worms, there's just so many movies. I'm telling you right now, the way me and AJ are hyping the Batman, do you think Oscar season next time around we're not going to try to get that movie lobbied in there? And then you're starting to split hairs now. Then you're just like, well, all right, well, Doctor Strange was great. Spider-Verse was great. And then it's just like you start opening the can of worms that you're then just like, well, we had 18 movies that should be nominated before you get to superhero. And all of the 18 weren't even nominated.
I mean, the thing is, I think it's fine to sort of open that can of worms. I think it's just a matter of being, thinking about it from what about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is something, really unique and transformative, that is something that it, sort of superseded anything of the other hundreds of movies that came out this year, and then the handful in the conversation of what we know as Oscar. I mean, I think like Doctor Strange, when you think from like a visual standpoint, like it did things that I had never seen from a technical standpoint.
I mean,
and I think that's a fair conversation to have, but at the end of the day, I enjoyed it, but it's kind of just like a permutation of Iron Man.
Right.
So there's nothing really.
Okay.
Go ahead, Trayvon. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, when you guys talk about Doctor Strange, I wouldn't nominate for Best Picture, but the visuals could have been nominated in that category.
1,000%.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not but
superheroes are at the table at the Oscars. They just don't, in my opinion. I'm not saying this factually. In my opinion, they should never be the head of the table. They shouldn't be carving my turkey. I'll serve them something. Suicide Squad won. What did they win? Like,
love your turns of phrases, man. They're just. Like, I'm still stuck on geriatric Batman. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, they should never be at the head of the table, because I should never be stuck between a Denzel movie, right, and Tom Holland as Spider-Man, sitting there going, there better not be even a 0.5% chance he wins over Denzel.
See,
well, there's exceptions to the rule, though. There's exceptions to the rule. Like you guys were talking about Logan. Logan is definitely an exception to the rule. It focused more on story than anything else. It's, to be honest, it's secondary, it's comic book, and then first is story-wise. Then you get into the script, and then you get into score. If everything about a comic book movie is great, much like you guys were talking about, The Harder They Fall, like everything about that movie was on point. It was fantastic all the way through, and that definitely deserves a nomination for best film. But much like Logan, everything about that film was just point on. So I think there are exceptions to the rule. A comic book movie that go on.
No, I just said I don't disagree with that. Like I said, my fear is just I don't want to ever be in a position to where they're announcing Green Knight, Harder They Fall, movies like that. And then the last movie is Spider-Man. And I'm stuck there fearing that Spider-Man could win over these movies I feel as though were better because they work with less. Like there was nothing about Harder They Fall that brought you in besides you wanting to see that movie.
Story, yeah.
But why is
Spider-Man,
that?
I want to see how is that. Oh, I'm sorry, Trevor. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm just like, why is that a prerequisite though? I thought this was about acting. I thought the acting in No Way Home was
my
amazing.
point. But that's
so
my
I don't
point.
know why.
If you're Tom Holland, if you're Tom Holland, your acting in that was really good.
I didn't say give him best actor, but I'm saying the movie itself. Like you're saying, like,
you don't want to do
what I'm
that.
Saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what I said. Film.
If you're doing best picture,
I'm thinking about the movie overall.
Worse. That to me is worse.
I don't know. That's
because
again, I don't know.
You had the fantastic you were working off of.
When it comes to Grammys, Oscars, anyway. You about to say?
No, I was just gonna say when you think of Best Picture, I think you have to. I mean, you kind of have to look at it holistically. When it's acting, it's the screenplay, it's the direction, it's the costume, it's the production design.
Okay.
And again, I think like with Black Panther, like when they were announcing it winning for costumes, I think it won production design. Mm-hmm. There was a point when I was like, wait a minute, is this a thing? Is this gonna happen? Like, am I about to like fall out on the floor? I forgot what won that year. I think it was Green Book, and I almost had an apoplectic fit.
No. The year Black Panther, no, that was Shape of Water.
Was it Shape of Water? Okay, that's fair. Because I love
2018, right?
Wait, say it again.
I forgot what year.
It was 2018.
Yeah, because I remember looking back saying, I'm sorry, she was just sleeping with him in that water tube in Black Panther. Like I remember thinking that to myself, like, all right, wait a minute now, hold on. I love me some Guillermo del Toro as much as the next guy, but she just was sleeping with homeboy in the tube, and that won an Oscar. That's all I'm saying.
I did love it. Was I just googled it. It was a Green Book won the year that Black Panther was nominated.
Really? So what was Shape of Water?
It was. It might have been the year before.
I'm trying to think.
It was the year before.
Against that I looked at and was just like, how did this now?
It was nominated against Call Me by Your Name, which, by the way, I think Timothée Chalamet should have won the Oscar for that. Get Out with Daniel Kaluuya, Lady Bird, and like Phantom Thread. Yeah,
it was Get Out. Get Out was it. But I am with you because I am Timothée Chalamet's #1 fan. The fact that he does not have an Oscar already is despicable. I should be saying Oscar winning Timothée Chalamet.
It's sort of like Leonardo DiCaprio for a minute, though.
No, he's turning into Leonardo DiCaprio, and we need to stop that before it gets too far like Leo's did. And then he wins it for a movie he shouldn't win it for.
Hey, we're not gonna badmouth. What was it?
I think I guess with Oscars and Grammys and all that stuff, I just don't care that much because I feel like they're just political anyway. Mm-hmm. So I feel like whoever campaigns the most wins it.
Honestly,
whoever campaigns the most for it wins it.
I mean that's a big part of it. I think and that's sort of what you kind of have to consider when you think about the Oscars. And I think what the Academy ultimately is sort of struggling with is how do you thread the needle of excellence in film with the business case of film with audience enjoyment of film, and how do you sort of meld that together? And I think that's why they came up with that best popular film thing, where they were like, we're gonna take like the 5 most highest grossing films of the year and give them their own category. And people are like, so what, are these films not capable of competing in their own right? And that seems kind of condescending.
To your point, to me, it shouldn't be condescending because most of these people have only won like MTV awards and they're happy, right? So to me, it's not disrespectful. But again, like I'll give you a perfect example, Trayvon. You ever hear the movie called Searching?
No.
Okay.
That's with God, who was it? Who's in that movie?
John Cho.
Yes.
That movie never gets talked about. Should have been nominated. Him for best actor, and that movie for best film, right? So
I think he was like in the conversation. Like I had seen that he was in the conversation, like,
but it didn't end up like when they were. Yeah, I could be wrong. You guys just saw it was wrong, but I don't think he was nominated. Because that movie does not get talked about enough. So Trayvon, what I'm saying is that movie that should have been nominated and wasn't. You're now adding in other kinds of movies that now even more flooded to where it's like, well, we got to take some others out. You know what I'm saying? You can only have a set amount of movies you're nominating. So then you start getting in the mindset of like, well, this was good, but this is Disney giving us $8 billion to kind of get Spider-Man into the
I mean,
you know
when I think of Oscars already right now, anyway, there's always an asterisk beside it for me anyway. No superhero movies. That's how I think about Oscars anyway.
For sure.
So I never expect them to get nominated anyway.
They
so
try
I was
their
just
best.
like, yeah, they try their best, but I don't. This is gonna sound so bad, but I think about the people that are voting these things are the demographic that probably are watching the superhero movies anyway. So I don't even think they'll see them in the first place. So it's like,
come out and say it, Trayvon. It's
old
grandpas
in
there talk about no. But did you see My Left Foot? It's like no. I did.
Yeah,
did you not see Spider-Man? And it's like no, I didn't see it.
No.
So it's like, well, you should get younger. But again, if it was most of us that were in these positions for
we're the ones watching the movies.
But hear me, I still wouldn't put
I mean,
so it's like I watch it, I love it. I still wouldn't.
That's fine for you to be in there saying that, but I want somebody else in there that would.
That like would say it. You want you in there, like
I want. Yeah, I mean, balance it out. Let us balance. Let us figure it out.
I want anyone who could fly. No, I'm just messing with you. No, like I said, it deserves a seat at the table. I will always stand with you in saying that. I'm just saying I just see too many good movies for me to ever leave an Oscars going. Spider-Man won that? Like best picture of the year? Like if you want to say best picture of December.
The one that made me cry, yes.
But Trayvon, how many of these other Oscar movies have you seen though?
I know, that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't talk about this stuff. That's why I don't talk about
honestly, West Side Story had me kind of like low-key wrecked. Like I saw it. I had heard that, you know, it was really great. Like people were saying it's like the best film of the year. And when I saw it, I was like getting very emotional. I was like, oh my God, what is happening here? Mm-hmm. Like for a movie I've already seen and it just like exists in popular culture, but no, I get it. I think you know, I think the Oscars are in a very interesting place right now because, you know, last year's ratings were a disaster, and at the end of the day, Hollywood, it's a, you know, just like most of Hollywood, it's a money-making enterprise, and you know, if people aren't watching, then people don't care. So I think that's always sort of in like Oscar voters' minds when they're like thinking about what is the best film of the year. Because if we were being honest, there are probably movies that we're not even aware of that are like truly like excellent in terms of craft. Like when Green Book is just deficient in several levels, except Mahershala Ali. Parasite is probably like the one movie in the last like 2 decades where I was like, I get it. Well, that and Return of the King, where I was like, this is a perfect choice. But I think at the end of the day, it's really all subjective. The only way you know you're gonna have like a definitive like best picture if you rank it by like box office, because then you could argue, well, this is what most people wanted to see,
right?
But you know, I think the Oscars have a valuable function. I think it exposes people to films they may have not necessarily been aware of, which I think is important. I think it also, you know, I think that it again also honors like the craftspeople behind like production, and like it gives spotlights to like screenwriters and directors who aren't on the covers of magazines and doing interviews and stuff like that. But I think they're kind of at a point now where they kind of have to figure out how to balance so many different, you know, objectives, because it is pretty complicated, and I don't think they can afford, you know, really as good as Nomadland was. At the end of the day, it's not going to necessarily drive people to watch the theater if no one even knows it exists. So it's tough.
I mean, look, I'll say this, Trayvon, before we head into our next topic. You know how I felt. You and AJ know how I felt about Cruella. How at the time I thought that was the best movie of the year at that point.
Definitely deserves best costume.
If it doesn't get best costume, I would burn the Oscars down.
So great.
I will say that knowing it's recorded and everything. I will burn it all down. No one costume wise has done better than Cruella. She made a dress out of garbage and it looked beautiful.
It looks so good. Yep.
It looked beautiful. I didn't even care that it probably all stunk. I don't care. It looks beautiful. But yeah, that movie gave me so many feelings. A movie I never thought I would enjoy.
Nobody wanted it too.
No one wanted. I was
Nobody
the main
wanted
one.
it.
Because I was like, what?
I don't want it.
Yeah.
And then I watch it and I'm like, God, Emma is just amazing. What can't she do at this point? Bravo to her. Hats off to her. I love Cruella. So if you're going to open the door for things like Spider-Man, get me Cruella up in that piece. You know what I'm saying? Put Cruella up in there. Shouts out to Emma. That was, man, I got to go watch that again now. It's your fault, Trayvon. All right, let's move on before we get out of here. Ash, you haven't talked Star Wars in forever with us.
Yeah.
So we need to go over some Star Wars stuff. I want to start off with the fact that, wait, AJ, I want to ask you something real quick. What would we call the universe that Filoni's building with Disney Plus?
Filoniverse?
The
Exactly.
Filoniverse?
Filoniverse?
Yeah.
Okay, the Filoniverse. Okay, because me and Joel were trying to create a heroes team for the Star Wars universe that Filoni's creating. And we couldn't figure out the name of it. Like the MCU, you got the Avengers, right? The DCEU, you got the Justice League, or whenever they form it. But we couldn't figure out a name to give Ahsoka and Din and Grogu, and it's killing me. So that's your task, AJ. In the next 5 seconds, you come up with a name.
Next 5 seconds. Okay.
Go. Hurry up or you're fired. But Ash, I want to go back to you. So obviously we got the Book of Boba going on right now. We got Kenobi coming this year. We got Bad Batch season 2 coming this year. AJ, what am I missing? That's it, Star Wars wise, right?
Wait, what? I wasn't listening.
I know you weren't. Book of Boba, Ahsoka, and Bad Batch season 2.
For this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kenobi.
Oh, and
Isn't The
Kenobi.
Mandalorian coming out this year as well?
Yeah, Mando.
Well, Mandalorian. I don't think we have a set date for Mandalorian.
we do. It's December.
We do.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
December. It's just not.
That's usually like a placeholder though. December.
Well, look, that's what we said about Book of Boba, and that came out in December.
You're right.
We thought when that was announced, like, oh, they're just gonna push that to like February or March. They just true to it. So Ash.
Andor. Yeah.
Oh, Andor is this year?
Yeah, Andor is this year too.
Oh, so
Yeah.
Is it?
I think that's
it.
isn't that the
I'm
next
excited
one
for
that's
that.
coming out? I think that's the
Yeah,
next one.
no,
we are
Kenobi is the
eating.
next one coming out, then Andor.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I know, like,
Kenobi's next. Kenobi's next.
Kenobi?
Yeah, it's Kenobi, Andor.
Wrong with
Yeah.
you?
Because Andor finished everything already. That's why I thought it was the next one.
I'm sorry, did Kenobi storyline not get
No,
wrapped
but
up?
Andor finished before everything else.
Oh,
Like filming
you-
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Filming.
I was
Right.
thinking
I'm
that
like-
way instead of.
I'm like, is Kenobi still alive in your head?
No, of course it is.
Not in continuity.
Of course it is.
But out of those shows, unless someone throws in another one, we forget. Which
Oh my
series are you looking forward to the most? If it's Book of Boba that's currently going, you can just say that. But which one are you looking
Right.
for?
Okay. Come on.
I gotta
Come
be fair.
on.
I just have to be fair. Just being fair.
I got my Kenobi. Okay. Like I get to have Obi-Wan back. And so far, Disney has not missed with what they've been doing with Star Wars. I'm gonna leave it at that. So far they have not missed with what they've been doing with Star Wars, especially the show. And I just cannot wait to see Ewan back and to see Hayden back. And it's going to be like I'm a little girl once again. So I'm looking forward to that. Then Ahsoka, obviously, because I really just want to see what Dave does with her story. I just want to see her. And then Andor, obviously. I really loved Rogue One. So I'm excited to see what was his story before he got there, like to make the choices that he did. And I'm just also for anything that just builds just more on the world post post Order 66. So I'm just excited to have more Star Wars, you know, just yeah. And then shout out to, I hope we see Cad Bane in Book of Boba Fett. Dave, listen, I'm not asking for much.
We're not asking for much, Dave.
I'm not asking for much.
Give me Cad Bane. Give me the greatest bounty hunter to strap a gun belt to his waist. That's all I'm asking for you.
That's all I'm asking. That's
if he's not in it, Dave Filoni, throw this whole series in the garbage. Throw it right in the garbage.
Hey.
I can't wait to see this character.
Tie it up.
No, Dave, don't listen to him.
1 second. Trayvon, watch Star Wars: The Clone Wars. You'll see Cad Bane.
Have you not watched it as yet?
It's too much. It's too much.
Trayvon, I want to talk to you. That's rude.
It's
That's rude.
It's a lie. Come on,
that is
man.
rude. That
like
is
15
rude.
seasons, man.
15. It's 8.
That's what it feel like. It's a lot.
That was some crap. Yeah. Said 15 seasons. Yeah.
But you will go back. You know what? I'm not even gonna shade. I'm not gonna shade.
Let it go, Ash. I had to let it go. He only gonna watch.
I keep telling you. I did not get to Star Wars until I heard The Force Awakens. Okay, that's
okay. That's okay. It's here for.
Sorry, just to be honest with you.
It's here for everybody. Don't listen to Jawan. Star Wars is for everybody at a certain point. If you got into when The Force Awakens, that's okay. That was a really good movie.
Before The Force Awakens came out, I watched the original 3.
I'm actually later. I didn't get into it until like the Last Jedi era, and then I watched. But wait. But here's my journey. Here's my journey.
I love this.
Here's my journey. I was an Adam Driver fan, and everyone was talking about him in Star Wars, and I was like, okay, well, no. And then I saw him in the SNL skit that he did where he's Matt, the radar technician. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this is pretty fun. And so that's when I was like, let me actually start with The Force Awakens.
I just want to say,
okay, I get it.
I apologize that it was The Last Jedi was your first introduction. No one should have to. No one. I'm sorry. I love Star Wars.
Time out.
I watched The New Hope. I watched The New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and
hold on.
Whatever that last
one.
When you watch
before Force Awakens.
Oh, you watched it before Force Awakens.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay. Thank goodness gracious.
Either way, I apologize that was your first interaction. Nobody should have to go through that. Yes, I'll throw all the shade at it.
Brandon, if that's the first one, did you like it? Okay.
Yes. Oh no, he's gonna say yes.
Yes.
He's gonna say yes.
I like him too. Sorry, I like the 3. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know.
I like
character assassination.
But I think what for me, I guess I wasn't as precious with the characters as someone who's like well versed in the Star Wars universe. So I kind of understood what Ryan Johnson was attempting. I thought it was pretty interesting. I did not particularly care for the Rise of Skywalker when I watched it, and I went to go see that in theaters like right before the world ended. So I was like, oh, it's like you just walk back everything. Okay, well,
world ended.
I like that. But I liked it for what it was. But again, I can understand why people didn't, because I just didn't have that like deep connection to the universe that I think other people did.
But that's why I say, and a lot of people feel as though it's to the detriment of Star Wars that a lot of their mythology is book driven rather than shows or movies that people can just easily digest. But I always say, when you went to school, your teacher never said, all right, did you guys watch the movie on trigonometry today? All right, so we're gonna watch this movie, then you're gonna no, you had to read books, right? You had to read books. So if you want to know about Star Wars, if you want to know, read the books, and then you'll understand why people looked at that Luke Skywalker and just said
So then I have two questions then, as someone who's like still very like green in the Star Wars universe. Is are the books like canonical to what George Lucas had planned in the first trilogy that he did?
Yes. So a lot of the books at some point got taken out of canon. But there's a lot of stories that are still canon to what George Lucas's vision was. So it's just it's for all the characters you're seeing now. You don't need any books for Din Djarin. That's a new character. You don't need any books for Ahsoka. That's a new character. Rey, Poe, Finn, Kylo.
Right.
If you want to just let the movie steer you with a lot of these new characters, no problem. But Boba Fett, once he died in that Sarlacc pit, right? That was it. So if you saw the original and then you saw this, it's kind of really all you need to know. But there's characters like the Wookiee that you just saw in the latest episode of Book of Boba Fett that if you don't know the books, you're looking at, you're just like, Chewie.
Right.
Yeah, I was watching it. I was watching a reaction. I was like, "Oh, they're really excited about that."
Yeah, that was me.
Because
And
that
then
means
I had to go. Yep, and I had to go look him up, and I was like, "Oh, it's him!" And then I was like, "Oh, give me Bosak."
Because the importance of that character is we could see him again as soon as the Kenobi series, because that character tried to kill Uncle Owen, while Luke was still young. So I'm like, he could fight Kenobi. So it's like, it's the connective dots. It's kind of like the MCU. If someone wants to see just the Avengers movies, you can. You won't understand a lot of what you're seeing, but you can enjoy it just for being a movie.
That's why I tell people, expand beyond the movies, go into the comics, read the books, read the graphic novels. That's always what I tell people, because they think the universe is just limited to what we have in the movies. And it's like, no, these movies are based off of what they have in the comics. And sometimes they're not 110% accurate because they're loosely based. Go read the comics. You'll get so much more. And I wish people would do that more, because then you get a lot more than you know.
I spent a month looking for Mephisto and people not understanding why I needed Mephisto in WandaVision, right? So they're just like, that's weird. But if you knew the comics, you would understand why I thought Mephisto made all the sense in the world to pop up in that series. So again, I never gatekeep. If you don't want to read any of the material, I'm not here to get you to read it. You can let the movies and the shows drive you. I'm just saying, when it comes to conversations and people telling me, well, that doesn't need to be in there. And I'm like, oh, did you read the comic? No. I don't understand where you're coming from then if you have nothing to lean back on. I can understand you not caring, but to say, oh, they didn't need that in there. What do you mean?
So then my second question is, because the one property that I really enjoyed, like 100% from Star Wars, was The Mandalorian, both season 1 and 2. And considering that one of the key criticisms, even just listening to this conversation, was sort of how they portrayed Luke, would you say that Luke's characterization at the end of The Mandalorian season 2 is sort of more what people didn't get from the sequel trilogy?
So, so the biggest thing, Brandon, is, you know how like you look at Flash and you're like, Flash is like the hope, the brightness, the positivity of the Justice League, right? Like he's the one they kind of lean on for that. Luke was the light. He was the one. He was the light. So for you to tell me Luke at any point of his life just said, yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna retire, I'm gonna go out to the mountains, I'm never gonna interact with it, it's just like, why did you decide to character assassinate the highest form of Star Wars? It's just like, and I'm sorry if this is a spoiler alert to anyone, it's just like Titans going, yeah, Bruce Wayne tried to commit suicide. Why would you attack the highest form of DC, I guess, like that? Like create a new character, have them try to do. Why would you go to Bruce Wayne for that?
I will make that. I don't think that's a fair comparison. If you don't care, I will make an argument. Luke's journey within the sequels, prequels, whatever the fuck it is now. I will argue it makes sense. The way he acts and everything. It's just the way. It's just because, for me personally, it should have been fleshed out before we got to that point of Last Jedi or Force
Yeah.
Awakens.
You can't even say that because that was Mark Hamill's whole problem. Mark Hamill's whole problem that he kept telling Ryan was, that's not Luke. Any of this that you're doing is not Luke. Losing hope, dashing away.
Look at the world we're in right now. Everybody.
Well, it depends on the situation. You can say that.
I'm just saying, like,
you can say a person can't change, but people change depending on the situation.
No. I'm not saying a
complete
person can't.
180.
Right. I'm not saying a person can't change. But for Luke to be the guy who has been obsessed with being a Jedi, to know that at any point just decided, I don't even want to do it anymore.
Well, he kept failing and failing after a while. No. Story-wise, it makes sense. It
Ryan,
just hasn't been fleshed out.
Here's the problem. Ryan just decided he failed one time spectacularly and decided he wasn't going to do it anymore. My problem is the same problem. These are Mark Hamill's words, was that Luke is the positivity, is the light. He would have rebounded from that. Maybe not went out to go train more people.
I mean, but he did. He did rebound.
AJ, the last time we saw this man, he was 24. We saw him again at 64. He had stopped Jediing for like 20 years in between.
But he still, but your point is he rebounded though. He did rebound. Did he not? Did he not?
Nah. Listen, not in a way.
AJ, don't be in a Star Wars
convincing.
Go ahead, Ash.
Not in a way that was convincing, right? Like, I wouldn't have had a problem that much with how they treated Luke if they didn't have him disappear for the entire of Force Awakens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me just, okay, great. Yeah, he was. I just needed to remember, right?
Yep.
If they had built up him having to turn his back on the Jedi, that way by the time if we'd gotten bits and pieces
that's what I was saying.
But we didn't get that though. But we didn't get that. We didn't get
exactly. That's why I'm agreeing with you.
A good execution. Okay, so we didn't get a good execution of Luke turning his back on hope, on light. Like, and I think a lot of people maybe would have had not as much issues with it if it was executed properly. And my whole issues with this, I don't think it was executed properly. It's also not Luke's character, just to what we know him as.
That's not.
It's not him. So if you're gonna do something that is 180 from him, execute it properly, or don't do it at all. And they didn't.
It kind of seems like it's like the game, like what happened with Game of Thrones, like when Daenerys decided to just burn down King's Landing after hearing those bells ring. It's like it's not that action was completely beyond the pale of what could potentially happen, but given who she had been for like 7 seasons at that point, for her to just switch like that is just like,
that's exactly that.
I wanted to set fire to the rain. Like I wanted like D&D's heads on spikes over that entire situation. It ruined Game of Thrones for me. That's what it seems like. If there was like some sort of setup, I don't know how you necessarily show this either in The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi with, because of like CGI and whatever. Like if they had like somehow laid the foundation to show why Luke gave up hope, then that would have made more sense from a storytelling standpoint.
That's why I have an issue with focusing on the universe that focuses on movies, comic books, and novels, because this was explained in the comics 100%. It was explained how he got to that point in Last Jedi. But the problem is nobody read the comics or read the novels.
So why didn't they do the job then?
That's my issue.
Yeah. So like I think we're literally agreeing on the same point, right? Is that if the groundwork has already been laid in the comics, right? Again, I'm still on the side, that's not Luke, don't do it. But if I'm playing devil's advocate, right? And we want to be objective or whatever the case is, if we already have the groundwork laid in the comics, why aren't you pulling from that material?
But the issue is the movie came before. The movie came before the comics. That was the issue. They were just trying to rewrite it.
Also,
so they went back and they went back and they fixed their bullshit.
They retconned it.
Yes.
Okay.
even if they didn't, AJ,
Point.
Ryan made it very clear he was going against the grain for his Star Wars movie, which again is fine. But my problem is, if you want to let someone be different, don't take the largest name you could possibly grab from the universe and let that be the change. You could have made Rey however you want, Poe, Finn, Kylo. Luke is the one you just don't touch. When you're doing Titans, you could touch all of these different characters the way that you want. Bruce Wayne is the shrine. You just don't touch that. There's just no need to change it.
So
That drastically, Bruce Wayne, the guy that's so obsessed with himself, you're telling me now all of a sudden you say, you know what? I quit life. What?
You're gonna have an aneurysm. You're gonna have an aneurysm.
So, I like this better. I like this explanation on why you guys are upset about it better than they killed my favorite character. That's what I got a lot of when.
Trayvon,
that's what I got from those movies.
Let me be very clear.
That's what I used to hear a lot.
Let me be very clear. That is how I
feel. Originals
it's just a simplified version of what
they're old.
That is how I feel, because when Mandalorian season 2 gave me Luke,
I'm just sorry, like they're old, like they're gonna die. Like
when Mandalorian season 2 gave me Luke, I cried for an hour and a half seeing my hero in his true essence. That is Luke. Star Wars meant so much for me as a kid growing up. Luke gave me hope as a kid so much. So that's why I'm like, all right, to see Luke now to where he's just like, oh, it's like watching Barney for forever, right? And then you get 6, 7 years old and you see Barney with his head off smoking a cigarette. That changes everything for you. Like, what the hell? What is this? You smoke cigarettes? You're a person? So that's what I felt when I looked at what Rian Johnson did, to where it's just like, you took Luke's head off and he's smoking a cigarette. And
so would you rather them not touch any of those characters? Like,
no, I'd rather you. Mark Hamill is Luke Skywalker, right? Like, there has been no other Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill is Luke Skywalker. So if he's telling you this isn't the direction you should go in, you should listen, is what I'm saying. So if Mark is telling you before and after the movie, he didn't like what you did with this character, that should tell you everything you need. Forget me. He's telling you, as the guy who's been Luke Skywalker since 1970.
Why did he sign on then?
He signed on because he wanted to continue the character. That's a very beautiful character to continue.
Yeah.
At some point, once you sign on and they go, well, look, I'm killing you. You just, at that point, it's like, well, I can't leave and then what? Risk them recasting Luke Skywalker?
I mean, they
would never do that.
I don't think they would have done that.
That would have been a catastrophe.
They would have just changed the story. I don't think they would have done that.
I don't think you would have had a catastrophe anymore.
I think he has enough power to say, I'm not doing this like this. And I think if he did that, then
but if you know Mark Hamill, that's not Mark Hamill. That's not who he is. Mark Hamill expressed what he didn't like, and when it wasn't listened, he just said okay.
It just, I guess it just seems like the sequel trilogy wasn't the right storytelling apparatus
100%.
for that kind
the time.
of characters.
But you also shouldn't have continued the Skywalker saga. Like, you've now had a Skywalker saga for almost every major decade, right? Every major decade.
That's Hollywood for you, though. They're scared.
Skywalker story.
That should I was straight on. I was saying that last night.
That should never be the case. The Star Wars world started with the Skywalkers. It does not mean it has to die with Star Wars. Expand it. That trilogy should have been all new characters that are not connected to Skywalker, and you're establishing.
Juwan, what's the saying that I used to say? It's the curse of George Lucas, basically.
It's the curse. I love that. I love George Lucas like a grandfather, but he has been such a chokehold of a curse to the world of Star Wars, because you have people like Filoni that love George. So anytime he does something Star Wars, he goes and talks with George. And if you talk with George, what is George going to say? Well, Mandalorian looks good. Look, don't get me wrong. What if Luke shows up? And it's like, God damn it, George. This is a world with no Skywalker. No, but what if Luke showed up and took Grogu? And now we're just that's it again.
This is why I like what they're doing with the New Republic, with the what's freaking High Republic.
Oh Lord Jesus! I don't like none of that.
No.
Ooh.
Okay,
One of their
never
force
mind.
powers was singing. I was just like, I don't
Yes,
know.
that is true.
What is this?
To be fair, overall, High Republic is good. It just has some hits and misses within it. Just like Old Republic, it has hits and misses within it, but overall,
name one.
But here's the deal.
Name one.
Regardless of hits and misses, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like what I'm getting with it, with the fact that I'm getting more Star Wars that is not the Skywalkers.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So can I use that as, because that's essentially why I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Because it's Star Wars that's building out the world in a new way. It's a little bit weird, but that's what I like about Star Wars. I like the weirdness.
Yeah, Yoda's young, still ugly, but you know, some things are the same, some things are different.
I was like, oh damn.
You haven't talked in a while. Are you into Star Wars?
I am definitely into Star Wars. I just didn't really connect with the sequel trilogy that much. I don't really have.
I love that. I love
like,
that. You know what? Can I promote you real quick? Hold on. But no. So, what are some of the things you're looking forward to out of Star Wars?
Definitely Kenobi. I mean, I think that Ewan McGregor kind of carried the prequels, so obviously excited to see that. Sorry. Oh my God, is that a hotter take?
I agree with you.
I love Hayden Christensen more than anything.
No.
Revenge of the Sith is nothing without Hayden Christensen.
I kind of feel like his Anakin was sort of cringy in the way that like
Attack of the Clones, I will not argue. Attack of the Clones, I always looked at and I just went, oof.
But I don't blame Hayden Christensen. I blame George.
The writing.
I blame George.
Okay, but here's the funny thing about that. Here's the funny thing.
Blame the writing.
I went back and watched Attack on Clones, right?
The
story's not that bad, right?
It's not.
It's the execution, though. I agree with
Revenge of the Sith, and I go, the story
is great.
Almost beat for beat the same. The only difference is everyone just got more mature in the role. That was Hayden's first time as Anakin, right? So it's like, all right, a lot of it might be a little raw, right? So then you go, Ewan McGregor is just another year older, you know, in the role. He's fully grown with Obi-Wan. So I think his perfect Obi-Wan, obviously till now, but his perfect Obi-Wan at the time was Revenge.
Don't mess that up.
Right? So you look at that and then you go, well, Hayden had more time to grow also. He in that the last 20 minutes of that movie is some of the greatest Star Wars ever.
Right.
Ever. It's because of what Hayden did as Anakin. I'm sorry, Emmy. Continue.
No, I mean, I guess he's I don't know. I do think so anyway, I'm excited for Kenobi. I'm very excited for Kenobi. Yeah. Also Andor. I mean, I think Rogue One was like peak. I think that was like chef's kiss amazing.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm very excited for that series as well. Ahsoka, I don't know. I mean, I liked her in Clone Wars. I liked her in Rebels, which I really regret watching every single day.
Just skip Ahsoka. We're not gonna bash on Ahsoka.
Wait, what?
No,
Wait,
that's not what we're gonna do tonight. Nope.
Hey.
Wait, what?
What's wrong with Rebels?
Like, broke my heart.
Like, I mean,
I have seen all of Rebels.
The main, I think.
Trayvon, not now.
I don't know.
Hold on.
I'm trying to get some credit back. Okay, I have seen something.
You get none for skipping.
Wait, hold on, Trayvon. You get zero, especially if you watch.
Well, I don't care. I watch
Clone Wars. You
get
no credit for this.
Wait, pause. Emmy, go back. We gotta go back to Rebels. Just.
Okay, I think the main character was so insufferable. Like I thought it was so annoying.
Wait, hold on. Did you only watch the first season?
Which one was that? Freddie Prinze?
Did you only watch the first season?
No, I saw the whole thing. I do think it got better. It got a lot better. I thought the first season was borderline unwatchable, personally.
Wow.
I didn't really care for the first season either.
I'm sorry.
No, you're talking about Ezra though, right?
Yeah.
What?
You're talking about Ezra.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Like he's just like an annoying.
So you're not
really fun.
He's a little bit like Ahsoka in season 1. They're both annoying in season 1.
I don't get that. I love the Ahsoka from the movie.
I did too. I agree with you, Juwan, but
right there.
He was still a little.
I loved both of them, and just wow.
You know what's crazy, Emmy? You know what's crazy? what's so crazy is what makes, and this is why I'm trying to get Trayvon to actually watch it, because you appreciate seeing Ahsoka today. What makes Ahsoka's character so rich is when she first came off of that shuttle with Yoda, right? And it was just like, Obi-Wan, this is your new Padawan. And Obi-Wan was just like,
Bro, wasn't it Plo Koon?
No, Plo Koon was
No.
with Yoda. And,
No, it was.
Yeah,
it was
you're right.
Yoda.
You're right. You're right. You're
It was
right.
Yoda.
So he's like, this is your new Padawan. Obi-Wan's just like, I got Anakin. I'm good, but you can give her to Anakin. And Anakin's just like, oh hell no. No, thank you. And then you look at from the first moment.
I saw that.
No, hold on. From the first moment they had the to the first, I'm setting up a parallel. So when she gets off the ship and gets introduced to Anakin, how he was so against it, and then the first time they met again, when she came off the ship with Bo-Katan, and Anakin runs up to her and she goes, "Whoa, no, we got business to talk." So it kind of,
why would you hurt me like that?
Because it was such a reflection of the first time she met him. He was kind of like, "Whoa, no, we got business to do. I have no interest in this." And then the second time she was shunning him. Their relationship is probably the most beautiful relationship in all of Star Wars, because it's been so much of a tug of war. I'm sorry, Ash. I rewatched season 8 again, and I cried through the whole damn thing.
Honestly, I am scarred. Like, if there's one universe that will scar me for the rest of my life,
it's Star Wars.
It is Star Wars.
It's Star Wars.
It took me 3 years to watch Rogue One after seeing it in the theater that first time. It's going to be a couple of years before I watch the last season of Clone Wars again, because I know I'm going to be sobbing through it. Yeah. I can't go back and watch Rebels knowing that Kanan dies. Sorry for anybody who don't know that. Like that, like, it is pain.
Yeah. No, look, I'm with you. I'm with you. Anyone who watches The Bad Batch, who knows the character Omega, if you harm a hair that little girl, I mean, she better not say she even skid her knee. I'm coming.
Dave, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you.
She's now got me emotionally attached. I can't even tell you guys how many times I said, "Hello, I'm Omega," and then it's like, "Wait, no, I'm Jawan." I love that girl. She would introduce herself every 5 seconds. "Hi, I'm Omega," and it's like, "Hi, Omega." And it's like, "Shit, I already know you. I'm sorry. We met before." So.
Yeah. I'm just saying, but no, Dave, you harm her, I'm coming for you.
I'm with you on that, Ash. I am locked. I'm purging.
I need to hurry up and get to this character you're talking about here.
Yes, you do. You
need to get to the Clone Wars first. So
I'm on episode 9. Hold on.
You're lying already. You don't even remember.
I'm not lying. I was just looking at it.
What happened in episode 8?
I don't remember.
Exactly, because you're lying. Emmy, I'm gonna go back to you.
I'm not lying.
Look at you lying.
I'm on episode 10.
Time out. Ain't no blue line on there. It don't show. Yes,
that. It is.
Episodes.
Yes, it is. It is right there. See?
I don't see it.
Blue right there. Blue right there.
I see it.
He fast forward through the whole thing.
I did not.
No. AJ, you know what he did? He fell asleep and it kept going, and he woke up. And all right, here we go. But Emmy, so I'll go back to you. So Obi-Wan, you're excited for. Ahsoka. You ended on Ahsoka before. I'm sorry, I completely jumped in there. But what were you saying about the Ahsoka series?
And like, I don't know. I liked where they left her off with Rebels. I enjoyed that ending for her. So I kind of want to like fill in that gap, you know. So I am
Have you
excited.
watched The Mandalorian?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah. So
because that filled in some of it. Yeah.
Right. So I'm excited for it. I'm not crazy excited for it, I guess. It's just kind of like middle of the road. The rest of them, like, are they being like an Endor series? Like, I don't need that. I think that's getting a little bit much. Not the Andor, like the Endor, like the planet. Are they? Am I wrong? Are they making it?
No. I think you're thinking they're doing Andor, and then they're doing AJ. What's the Sith series?
Acolyte.
Acolyte. Yeah.
And Andor.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there comes a point when it's getting to be too much, you know, and so I don't want them to reach that point too soon.
That's fair.
You know.
Yep, that's very fair.
No, I completely appreciate that. Look, me personally, I bathe in Star Wars, so it would have to be really bad for me to get to where it's just like, bro, maybe one show a year. This you're doing too much. But I will say Ahsoka's number one for me. And that's purely because I just want a scene of her sitting in front of a fire. And all of a sudden in his cloak walks Luke Skywalker. And they're just exchanging war stories about his father. Because there's so much that she knows about Anakin that Luke doesn't. And Luke knows how Anakin ended. She doesn't. So she would cry knowing that he went out a hero. He died as Anakin. And Luke would love to hear all the war stories about how his father was easily the greatest pilot alive, how his father was easily the best Jedi alive. So for them to kind of just swap war stories, I think would be so beautiful. And then you get to see little Grogu sitting there listening to everything, just like, no, I was there for both. Like, yeah, I saw Luke and I saw him in the temple when he killed everybody.
You know what's really fascinating though about that? I'm not sure what it is about the current series that's airing now versus how The Mandalorian like broke big. I'm not entirely sure how that how that works, but it's because of Baby Yoda and Grogu. Sorry, I keep falling back to Baby Yoda, but you could not walk a second in social media without some sort of conversation around The Mandalorian. And when you sort of step outside the fandom, it was everyone talking about Grogu, and he like dominated culture for like 2 years. I don't get a sense of that with Boba Fett. I feel like it's kind of low key.
No, and that's only because I think a lot about what drove The Mandalorian was people's love for Grogu.
Right.
Just seeing kind of father and son kind of go through these weird adventures, right? So you go Book of Boba, and it's more so just like, no, only adults sit at this table. This isn't for your children. Like Boba, this Book of Boba is a love letter to Boba Fett fans that lost them as quickly as they got him in the original movies. It's more so kind of just like you kind of have to have the appreciation for Boba and I don't mean that in the gatekeeping way. Like if you didn't,
no, I get it.
I just mean it so more so as like that emotional attachment. Like The Mandalorian created an emotional attachment. Boba has had one since the 80s, And then if you watch Clone Wars, like I'm trying to get Trayvon to do, you see Boba at a younger age. So from Attack of the Clones on to when he's about from like 10 to about maybe 16, 17. And then obviously when you watch the original movies, that's him much older than, Sarlacc did. So now we're getting him way older than the last time we saw him. So that's why it's kind of just an appreciation ride of Boba that maybe a lot of people just don't have because they're like, they don't really remember him from back then or they didn't watch Clone Wars. So that's the disconnect there. But I did want to say this, Brandon, because I know a lot of people are still trying to call him Baby Yoda. The reason why the name Baby Yoda does not work for Grogu, and the reason why, I don't know if a lot of you guys noticed this, but Disney never called him Baby Yoda. We did.
No, never.
That's the way he looks like. It's because of what he looks like.
Now, here's the problem with the way he looks like. Yoda is a person, not a race.
Yeah.
It's the individual person. So a lot of people thought like, oh, this is Yoda's son. They're a race of people. like you wouldn't.
You know what? I ain't gonna say what I thought. I'm not.
Go ahead. What'd you think?
No, I just thought he was Yoda.
A little fun fact.
I thought he was Yoda. I did.
So you
I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand it. I'm sorry.
But here's the deal. No. Before like people like cleared up like who it was, there were a lot of people that were working with that assumption that he was Yoda, and then they actually like had to say no. This is like people had to say this is not Yoda. Like thing. So like there was a lot of rumors and a good group of people that thought that Grogu was Yoda.
I was like,
I would have believed it
like Yoda.
I would have believed it if Yaddle didn't exist. If Yaddle didn't exist, I have no idea what that is. Yaddle is
another.
Yeah, she was in the prequels. The female of that race. And let me just say this: if you thought Yoda was ugly, I don't know what the Force did. I don't know what the Force did to Yaddle, but you know what Yaddle looks like? Yaddle looks like
No, I can't
What
wait.
are those little things that they say you can't get wet? If you get wet, they turn
Gremlin?
The Gremlins, yes.
Gremlins?
Yaddle
Yes.
looks like the mother hive of
Ooh.
the gremlin, but when they
Wow.
like Yaddle was the mom.
Ooh.
And
Wow.
the daddy is real fine, and you're just like, oh, you got all your dad's looks. When you're calm,
Ooh.
when you're angry, you look just like your ugly mama. So that's what Yaddle is. But
She needs some. She needs Spency.
I don't know what
Ooh.
Yaddle needs. I'd say Yaddle needs.
She needs some things.
I don't know something.
Oh, I see
The
that.
galaxy has not been good to her. That's all I'm gonna say. The galaxy has not been good to
Well,
her.
she's dead now, so it's too late.
That's
Yeah,
weird.
nah, nah. I tell you what, Yaddle was so ugly. Yoda only spoke at Yaddle like maybe 2-3 times.
No, he acted like she didn't exist.
Yaddle was just like Yaddle.
Who the fuck is that?
She's standing right there. Yaddle. I don't see nobody.
I don't see nobody over there.
No.
I should get a picture of her. Okay.
And then Yaddle pops up. He's like, "Oh God, Jesus!" Like, don't look at me in my face. But anyway, yeah. So Grogu, which is why I'm glad they gave him his name, is not Yoda. Yoda's son. Yoda's nephew.
I still don't call him Grogu though. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Baby
Just
Yoda
don't
was
call
more
him
of a
Baby Yoda.
placeholder because nobody knew Grogu.
No. I get why they said it, AJ. I'm just saying, no one ever thought about the fact that Disney never said that. Like, we just like Baby Yoda, Baby Yoda. Disney was just like,
And then, but you know what? They sure as hell ran with it.
They clear it up.
Yes, they did.
clear it up.
Because they got them that
I
money.
would have said, wait a minute, Baby Yoda, y'all like that? All right, shit, do it.
It
I
drove
have
sales. It drove the popularity. So that's all that
Sure
matters.
did. It sure
You
did.
have to. You actually kind of have to give it to Disney for keeping the existence of like Baby Yoda or from Grogu away from like the toy manufacturers, because I know they were pissed when he blew up the day of that first episode and there was nothing in stores to sell.
Yeah.
Like, I would be like, if I was like Mattel or something, I would have been on the phone with Bob Iger being like, you son of a bitch. You just screwed our entire holiday sales.
Yep.
Because
Why wouldn't
like,
you
I don't
the
think
photos of this little ugly thing before you put it into production so we can make toys? Next time, send us
at least give us like a month's head up or something. So
I can make something, even if it's one of those little ugly toys. From like those secondary.
It took like 6 or 7 months until it showed up.
A quick little plush.
Yeah, just a little plush, little keychain thing. Something.
It would have sold.
Because it would have been some Tickle Me Elmo
their
stuff.
sales were up a lot too at the same time, so they couldn't really be mad.
It's as simple as this. Disney just went, well, we didn't really take a hit anywhere. Like, we're still filthy rich. And Mattel was just like, yeah, but we could have been richer. And they're like, I'm sorry, Avengers 6 just dropped. I'm richer now. So, you do what you want. But all right. So, all right. So that's pretty much, we can kind of just clip it off there. I'm so glad we brought Brandon and Emmy on. Again, Emmy, there's going to be a lot of things that are said amongst each other that make each of us want to cry. That's the greatness of this show. Okay. We each say something that makes the other go, I don't even.
Almost all of the time, it's Joanne.
What? Yeah, all of it. They find ways to break my soul each and every time. The first time Trayvon came on here and was telling me how I don't need a Robin, like he didn't understand the need for a Robin. I damn near almost fought him. I didn't know what to do. I love Trayvon like a brother, but I almost threw hands with him that day. You don't say something like that. We need Robin always.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I mean, I'm excited for Ahsoka more than anything. I just want to say that.
Oh shoot! I'm sorry, Jay. We've been talking so much. I thought we went through everybody. I'm sorry. So yours is Ahsoka?
I was just so much mess with you, but yes. Yes, it is.
Ahsoka, okay.
Yes.
And I'm assuming it's Ahsoka for Sabine, for Ezra.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Trayvon, I know you, man. I know you.
Correct.
I know you. Brandon, was there anything you were looking forward to Star Wars wise specifically?
I would say the Kenobi series.
Okay. Yeah, we get to see my boy Hayden come back. Is Anakin, whether it's Darth Vader or Anakin's Force Ghost, whatever, he's coming back.
I'm a weep like a baby.
Oh, I'm a weep. I'm a weep.
Weep like a baby.
Oh man, he is so lucky I wasn't there at New York Comic Con. I would have been pepper sprayed. That's without a doubt. 100%, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
We should do a prequel watch before the Obi-Wan series.
AJ, I watch this movie every other Sunday. I don't need a specific reason.
I will finish Clone Wars before Ahsoka.
One.
Okay? You're gonna finish what?
I'll finish Clone Wars before Ahsoka. Okay.
I'm gonna hold you to that. I'm gonna hold you to
that. No, seriously, Trayvon, if you do it, I'll give you $10.
Okay.
Trayvon is lying to you. By the time
he's not gonna do it.
Trayvon's gonna go, well, I'm sorry. Well, we had Moon Knight, we had Miss Marvel, we had What If again. There was movies. I got lost.
And he'll be watching reruns before he gets to Clone Wars. So it's never going to happen.
Don't be shading him for his reruns. Don't be shading him for his reruns.
He out here lying. I love him to death.
I'm going to shade all the reruns if he doesn't get to Clone Wars.
I am in your corner. I believe in you.
No, you're not. Why are you saying that lying to the
I'm out, Ash. You know how I know he ain't gonna watch Clone Wars? Don't nobody in that show fly. Trayvon needs somebody to fly to keep his attention.
They got powers though. They got powers
enough to keep you. I don't believe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I think
so. We're gonna find out.
Push and pull
Tell me right now. Name me one character from the first 8 episodes.
Don't be doing that.
Don't do that. Don't do that to me.
I can't even remember any characters from the 8 episodes.
I can tell you each of the first 8 to 10 episodes of that season. Don't you play with me, Trayvon. Anyway,
I could do that with Power Rangers. I can't do that with this.
I can do that with Power Rangers. Everybody should be able to first.
Can you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I even know when they spun off and did the Dollar Tree version of Power Rangers in that first season.
Hold on now. We're not going.
Come on now. Rocky and whatever his name and whatever the rest of their names.
That wasn't their fault. They came in because I was Let's not do that.
They were Dollar Tree versions. They were Dollar Tree versions. You got them for a value.
The show kept going.
What else did we have?
Kept going.
What else did we have?
The show kept going.
AJ, I would ask you, what are you most looking forward to? But I don't. No, I'm joking. What are you looking forward to from Star Wars? What are you most looking forward to, AJ?
Oh, you're talking to me?
You are AJ.
I ain't hear my name. You should already know what mine is.
Yes, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan.
There you go.
Yeah, I already know. I know my peoples. But I do want to thank Emmy and Brandon for joining. We had great conversations. I'm glad we got to work in the conversation based off of your article. Because your article was amazing. And I'm glad that we have you both part of our not only our writing team, but I hope you guys decide to come. I hope we didn't scare you off. I hope you guys are willing to come back the next time we pod. It was great having you guys. Great conversation. This is really, really, really good. I'm glad we got to get into thought-provoking conversation, not just, all the things we hate. We got to really get deep into it. Because we could go negative real quick on this show. That's just with AJ alone. But again, I want to thank you guys for joining. Trayvon, Ash, AJ, thank you guys for doing this pod with me on a Saturday. We got so much content coming, so there'll be plenty of time for you guys to return. We do our Book of Boba review every Wednesday. If you guys are caught up and want to join that every Wednesday night, whatever it is, you guys know how to contact me. Reach out. We'll get together and pod. Even if you guys just want to pod about the Oscars, nominations, whatever, you contact me, we pod. Okay.
Good to know.
So this is all we got for you guys on this new episode of GVN Talk, our first one of 2022. And hopefully AJ can be available for us to do more, because he's the reason why we didn't do the last 900 episodes. So
wait, what?
Wow, look, AJ, he started the episode by calling me out, and now he's ending the episode by calling you out.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All I'm saying is, whenever I call Trayvon's just like, let's do it. So, just saying.
Look, I'm gonna try to take off Wednesday nights so I can get on the podcast, because
that'd be a start.
I need to talk Boba, because I'm tired of all the hate that's on the internet right now.
There's a lot of it. There's a lot.
Yeah.
It's getting a little annoying. There's one more.
Yeah, that's why I don't listen to them, and I just watch the damn show because I love that fucking show.
Or
it's a nice placeholder for everything else that's coming out.
Exactly.
It is definitely a placeholder.
Okay, it's not a okay. One,
it's definitely
only 2 episodes out. It's only 2
It's
episodes.
because
out.
everybody think it's just gonna be keep me in flashback.
No, it's a placeholder for Mandalorian season 3. That's what it is.
We're gonna end this.
I will not sit here and have you disrespect.
It's not disrespect. It's good. What? It's not a disrespect to be a placeholder.
You calling a placeholder?
It's holding us
means
until we get more Star Wars.
You know what, AJ? Bye.
See, you see everything negatively. I don't see it as a negative. But
it's all right. Keep playing with Ash when she block you again.
She ain't gonna block me again. I call her bluff.
Want to bet?
Last time, Ash, don't do it. I don't want to have to keep adding him to the group chat. Anyway,
you sure?
Thank you guys. We will see you on an all new episode. I don't know when, but whenever we put it out. So thank you guys for tuning in. I swear we're professionals. I promise you. But till next time, guys. Peace.
Thanks so much.